Across the UK. On DAB+. On YouTube. On your mobile. And on your side. This is Talk.
A very good morning to you, my friends. It is Thursday, the 4th of December. Good morning, Alarm Clock Britain. This is Talk. It's JK at the controls, the home of common sense, and where you, of a morning, come to talk. So much to throw at you this morning. In a minute, the legend that is Charlie Rowley on papers. But, ladies and gentlemen, an astonishing couple of stories that I would love your input on. Just remember, as ever, Damien has got little to do in his life than answer your calls. So 0344 419 1000. The voice notes, we love them. Christian, get going with that. And your text on 87222. Health Secretary Wes Streeting, fresh from not wanting to be the next Prime Minister, has ordered an independent review into the overdiagnosis of mental health conditions such as ADHD, saying that that's become the most common reason for a sickness benefit claim. Now, after a budget where that lot spent an extra 16 billion on benefits, patently screwing hard-working people like you and I, the big question is have we become a society that just over-labels everything? Of course, the do-gooders will jump up and down, and quite rightly we should point out there are people, many people in this country, who have situations and issues that maybe have never been talked about before. And again, like benefits in every sphere, for me, those are the people we should look after. But if you're getting to a point where, you know, my old girl who's no longer here would go, ADHD, she's just a bit badly behaved, or she needs putting in a place or something. Maybe that's not right. I would love to hear from you. Do you think that we label everything and everyone far too much nowadays? And I'm talking about you, Ricky. 0344 419 1000. This, though, this is the best bit, on the back of the fact that A&E departments, I mean, this is under siege. Last year, 200,000 A&E cases, this is in the winter, centred on things like hiccups, ingrowing toenails and blocked noses. I mean, how... Sorry, I'm going to say it. It's only 5 past 6. How stupid are people? I mean, we can moan all day about the NHS and we can say it spends money. But really, if you're getting to the point where you're going to A&E with a blocked nose or because you've got an ingrowing toenail, get a grip. 0344 of the toenail. 0344 419 1000. A couple of other brilliant stories. I say brilliant, not really. Labour this morning sort of admitted being accused of postponing a number of mayoral elections until 2028. Essex, Hampshire, the Solent, Sussex, Norfolk and Suffolk. They're going to push those mayoral elections back 2 years. Everybody's up in arms. Zia Youssef on after 9 o'clock this morning. He says that this is a distinct delaying tactic aimed at only doing one thing, shoring up a government that is in tatters. The other thing, you'll have heard, I'm sure, about this argument in Crowborough, East Sussex. The Pink Ladies out in force. Basically, they want to move 600 migrants into an army camp. Just check this morning. Teenage cadets have been ordered to leave the training camp after Ministry Defence chiefs admit it'll no longer be safe for them. So those same Ministry of Defence chiefs and the government are openly admitting that 600 unvetted illegal migrants is not safe. So why don't we just stop them from coming in the first place then? Because whether that's women or girls or cadets, is that not the problem? 0344 419 1000. And if you needed Alarm Clock Britain a laugh, I genuinely am going to read a headline from a newspaper just to prove this is in the Daily Telegraph. I don't know how to do this, Johnny. A lick from a dog makes you a happier adult. I jest not, my friends. A lick from a dog makes you a happier adult. I don't want any play on words. What makes you happy? Have you ever been licked by a dog? Here's a man who probably has. Good morning, Charlie Rowley.
Good morning.
How are you, love?
And from the Telegraph as well, that story. Do my eyes deceive me there? A lick from a dog
makes tea. What makes you happy, Charlie Rowley?
Being here on a Thursday morning on the 4th of December with Jeremy. Yes, I couldn't remember my name.
Yes.
You're Jeremy Carl.
Thank you very much. And you're Charlie Rowley.
At 6 a.m. That's what makes me happy.
And it's good morning from me and it's good morning from you. Let's start straight away, because this I think this is really, really a story. The NHS in its entirety will forever be at the forefront of our minds. And people go on about it doesn't spend its money appropriately, they've got too many DEI, all those sorts of things, quite right. Is it open to too many people? But Streeting today ordering an independent review into the overdiagnosis of mental health conditions such as ADHD, on the back of this being the most common reason that people get sickness benefits. So you've got two camps, haven't you? You've got the people who go, this is great that we are now finally admitting to these problems. Yeah, but we also, a bit like benefits, have to accept that we now live in a society where people take advantage, and we're now just becoming label obsessed.
Yes, is the answer. Because there's about 1.2 million people that have added to the benefit claimants bill since 2019. So that's just before COVID. And since COVID, it now seems if you've got a little bit of anxiety, or if you've got some sort of, attention deficit, or if you've brain fog or whatever, all of a sudden you can now jump on the benefits bandwagon, you can claim away. That's why the benefit bill is so huge. And we've not learned anything from the past where we were able, or it took us a while, to be able to get around to the point where we were saying, look, we need to focus on what people can do rather than what they can't do. So even if you are disabled or if you have any kind of a disability, it's the focus of what you can do to get to work and have a little bit of benefit in between. But now it's all of a sudden, whoa, I've got ADHD or I've got, anxiety. I can't go to work. We'll have a lot of money, have some cash instead.
I think the problem is it's very much like the benefits argument. We were talking about disabilities the other day. The minute you talk about the benefits and let's just look at who's taking advantage, everybody jumps up and down on the left and goes, you're being disrespectful to people with mental illness and disability. No, I am not. I genuinely know. I've told the story. I had a breakdown for 3 months 6 years ago with what happened to me, and I never thought it would happen to me, right? But the truth of the matter is this: we have to be able to look ourselves in the mirror and say, there is a generation nowadays that are taking the out of this entire situation. And, of course, my mum would have gone, he's just badly behaved, and clipped me round the ear. Nowadays, you can say, my son's got ADHD, better not go to school, I can get benefits. There has to be a middle ground. On the back of that, I think this is even more shocking. A&E departments under siege. Last winter, 200,000 cases dealt with things like blocked noses, sore throats, ingrowing toenails and hiccups. And I said it in the intro. Really? That's ridiculous, isn't it? That can't be blamed at the government. That's blamed on people's stupidity.
Yeah, of course. And look, there are people who feel entitled because the NHS is free at the point of use.
What if you've got hiccups?
And you've got hiccups. And, but these are the same people I would have thought that call the police to waste their time because they want to report a cat stuck up the tree, and you hear those calls when, you're on to 999 and the call operator is saying, that's not an emergency. You've got people that are using the NHS and using A&E departments wrongly as it is. I mean, and that's...
How do we control that?
Well, lots of ways. I think, look, it took ages, I remember being in government before, when we couldn't get 7-day GP surgeries. You couldn't get GPs to work 7 days a week. And it was Jeremy Hunt, who was the health secretary at the time, to say, look, you don't choose when people get ill. People can get sick at the weekend. And we still have A&E departments now where it's not fully staffed because consultants tend to work Monday to Friday. Consultants, by the way, who were once resident doctors, formerly known as junior doctors, who are yet again going on strike and have voted to go on strike, having had a whopping 28% pay rise at the last budget, and now coming back for another 20% plus. So, have more availability. It's just having, and I think...
But how do we... Pete in Croydon, morning, Jess. Unreasonable A&E visits. Surely staff can turn these people away politely. Why are we so soft? Pete, I'm going to take aim, not personally, but I have real sympathy for the staff that work in A&E. The abuse, the appalling abuse they get, the threats and whatever, they don't deserve that. We need to be able... I don't know whether it's people being taught... listen, I know I could cure people not turning up for their GP appointments in a heartbeat. You've got to pay £5. You've got to pay a fee, right? I know we've all got stories of going to A&E and waiting 7 hours. I was there with Henry 2 months ago, right? Thought he cracked his wrist. I mean, it was bedlam. It was 7 hours before you see somebody. And there gets real frustration in that situation. But we do surely as a society have to say, hold on a minute. Jesus Christ. Do you know what I mean? Hiccups. Oh, I'll go to A&E. Because the genuine people, we're back there again to that strand, are missing out.
Yeah, exactly. And just imagine sitting in that A&E department and, you know, waiting to be called up, and before you, as you say, somebody, you know, is mincing in because they've got an ingrown toenail. That's ridiculous. You know, over and above people that actually need to be seen. So it's having a tough conversation with the public. Actually, it's about saying, look, we're an ageing population. We're getting older. There'll be ever more demand on the NHS. You can't just keep throwing money at it. And what is it actually being used for? If it's being used for people that don't need to use it, like those examples that you've given, then we need to call those people out. Maybe you do need to charge those people for wasting NHS time, just as you would people wasting police time.
I told a story about 8 years ago, and I wrote an article in The Sun of it. We were doing a show, maybe longer, and it was Christmas, and I was working with an ambulance crew for a special. And of all that I saw in the 2 days of waste and just the most disgusting waste of what these people do, was a drunk lady at a Christmas party. And you'll smile, but this is genuinely true. She was 52 years of age. She literally passed out in the foyer of a major the Midland Hotel in Birmingham, right? Vomiting, right? These two hard-working paramedics were abused, scratched, screamed at as they put her in their ambulance. She vomited 5 times on the way to hospital. It took them an hour to clear that up so they couldn't go back on the road. She legally has to spend 8 hours in a hospital bed, blocking that bed from genuine people, and then get sent home in a taxi. And I wrote in The Sun, absolutely, I'd charge her for that. I'd charge her the £180 for that ambulance coming out. I'm absolutely sure that there are people in the NHS who waste money, and there are jobs that are ludicrous, and I completely accept that. We have to take responsibility as individuals ourselves, don't we, as well?
Yeah, 100%. And look, I'm incredibly sympathetic to that argument, and, you know, a thought before, if you do inflict your own pain or suffering onto yourself and need a call out, you know, whether it's a call out charge, a call out fee for an ambulance or whatever, then you should be charged for that. I mean, obviously, people will then get into all the nitty-gritty and say, well, in that particular example, you know...
Don't get drunk because there's an old lady who's broken a hip who can't get a damn ambulance. That's my point.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, but people would say, or they could say, well, actually, OK, she would claim she only had a couple of drinks and, you know, she might have been spiked. You know, do you say to people, oh, no, you know, you've broken your leg playing football? Well, you chose to play football. So
no, but there's a difference.
There is a difference.
And I feel really strongly that we can forever criticise things like the A&E thing. The self-diagnosis is one issue, but at £200 billion, we live now, it seems, in a country where the state makes everything, and we moan about the state. Well, take some responsibility as well. 6:15. Love to know what you make of this. 87222 plus, of course, those voice notes. 0344 499 1000. The main news story you're waking up to is Health Secretary Wes Streeting ordering an independent review into the overdiagnosis of mental health conditions like ADHD. Morning, Jez, says Mark. Also in Croydon, I've been saying ADHD is overdiagnosed for months. This weekend, I was arguing with someone who said they had it as they did a test online. Sorry to sound outrageous, he says. I think it's trendy to have a few letters after your name these days as you get benefits or freebies. Now, of course, people will go, yes, but I've got it. I think I've got OCD, but I'm not after anything for it.
No, but I can imagine this is all part of also a hangover from COVID, where for a certain amount of time, and I don't want to bring back bad memories of COVID for people listening, but you know,
I'm not talking about it seriously.
We were told on a number of occasions what the rule of 6 was, that you could only go outside it. But there was a time being where the public actually, polling showed and focus group showed, the public actually liked to be told what the rules were. They liked to be given rules, and people were following it, and they thought, right, oh, I can, you know, I'm in this bubble, that bubble. But, you know, they were following the rule. But there was a label for everything. Are you tier 2? Are you tier 3? Are you in green, amber, red? Are you this, that, the other? Are you what? But now, the hangover still exists where I've got ADHD. Or no, I've got anxiety.
Listen to this, because what I love about Alarm Clock Britain, thank you already for your inputs, absolutely fantastic. Morning to Jess. My son and I have ADHD. The diagnosis was more about learning to deal with our behaviour traits for me, exacerbated in my personal thing by the menopause and for school. No need to claim disability benefits because indeed in some circumstances it can prove to be an ability. The gaming industry and some financial institutions want neurodiverse workforces due to the way they work and focus on repetition. It's just another excuse to claim money. She is saying, I've got ADHD, I've had it diagnosed to help in certain situations. Move on with your life. Hello to, is it Gordon? In Slough. There's a place. Have you been to Slough?
I've been through it.
Lovely. Morning, Jez. Don't tell my former police inspector boss who has ADHD that he should be on benefits. He successfully completed a 30-year career and has 2 sons with ADHD, one now a teacher, the other in professional employment too. I am certain there are some people who play on their mental condition to play the benefits game. It needs to stop. We need to damn well call it out. Gordon in Slough.
Is absolutely right. And look, these 2 other examples as well, just showing what people can do with ADHD and saying that they don't need to claim benefits at all. But we have become, and I'm afraid under this Labour government, I hate to say it, too soft, too pandering to people that just want to claim benefits, and that's why we've seen the welfare bill balloon.
Steve in Cambridge, you're going for this morning. A single mum on my road has 4 small kids. A teacher at the local school said that one of the children might have ADHD and you can claim for any help you need. Surprise, surprise, all of her children now in Cambridge have ADHD. Morning, JK. Cliff in Berkshire. Posh, that's where I was born. You're not interested. I think there's been a general trend to upgrade what used to be fairly minor ailments. A bit of a headache has become a migraine, a bit of a cold has become flu, being a bit worried has become severe anxiety, and a naughty child from my day has got ADHD. Cliffy in Berkshire, many will agree with you. Boz, good morning.
Morning, Jezza and the breakfast team. Travelling Boz here. Well, all these ones going to the A&E, there's some silly symptoms there, but there's others as well because they can't get a doctor's appointment because they're fully booked with everyone who's coming over and jumping the queue. As for the 600 immigrants going into that one place and the cadets moving out, well, it's just hypocritical. It's probably the same government minister arguing with himself about letting them go in there and then sending out the memo that it's not safe for the cadets to stay there. And as for a licking of a dog, well, I'll tell you what, that whole front bench needs licking because they're as miserable as hell. Have a good day.
Boz, we love Boz, part of the Alarm Clock Britain. If you're just waking up and going, sorry, what's wrong with that man? In the Telegraph, a lick from a dog makes teenagers happier adults. We'll talk about A&E, we'll talk about labelling, we'll talk about mayoral elections, we'll talk about, migrants, but apparently a dog lick can make you happier. Morning, JK and Charlie. So a dog licks his own tackle, then licks you. Why does that make anybody happy, says Bill in Romsey. It's a strange way that dogs actually say, you know the way they greet each other?
Yes.
Imagine doing that. Hello, Jezza, meet my wife. I mean, it's just not absolutely going to happen, is it? Andy O'Connor. Talk, Jez. Not sure about a lick from a dog, but I love it when my cat sits on my lap. Right. Well, listen, we need to get our... there's so much I could say to that.
Whatever makes you happy.
Yes.
Whatever makes you happy.
Here's a thought for you, Alarm Clock Britain. What makes you happy? A lick from a dog, apparently, in the Daily Telegraph. What makes you happy? And here's a thought as we head to an ad break, because proving probably that I've got ADHD. What happens to your lap when you stand up? Back in 3.
the Talk app. You can watch, catch up and listen to all your favourite shows and podcasts anytime, anywhere, all on the Talk app. Watching and listening to Talk just got easier. There's now only one place for the home of common sense. So head over to your App Store or Google Play and search Talk now.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Good morning, my friends. Thursday, the 4th of December, you would talk where the nation comes to talk. To all of you that are up and are at it, Alarm Clock Britain, we love you. Thank you for tuning in. We're talking so much today. Health Secretary Wes Streeting has ordered an independent review into the overdiagnosis of mental health problems like ADHD. I'm asking this, is there an overdiagnosis? Are we obsessed with labels? The do-gooders are going to go, well, my son has got ADHD. Yes, and there's plenty of people who have had treatment, carried on their lives, others are severely affected by it. But are we now in the grip of, I'm going to grab a label because it means I don't have to worry? Also today, A&E departments, 200,000 cases last winter in a system that we know is severely under fire. 200,000 people went to hospital with ailments like hiccups, growing toenails, blocked noses and a sore throat. Come on, Britain, get a grip. And this is Adrian. Morning, Adrian, how are you?
Morning, Jezza. It's Adrian at East Sussex. Morning, Rolly. A&E and people going there for silly little things. Just food for thought. My brother and his wife, they're in their very late 70s. His wife fell over and cut her hip. Well, recently she had a hip replacement, so I was a little bit worried. Went to her local GP practice, which is quite large, with several doctors and nurses, etc. And after an appreciable queue to get to the reception, explained that she didn't really want to go to A&E. She didn't think she'd broken anything, but she just had a dressing that needed redoing. Could the district nurse just help her for a moment? And she was told, no, we don't do anything other than planned stuff. You really need to go to A&E. So she went home, having gone to the pharmacy and struggled for some time and managed to do it herself. I think you need to look at GP practices, actually. A lot of this problem, the whole NHS is broke. They're all money grabbers. Bye-bye.
Couldn't agree more, but I do think we need to take personal responsibility. I like that. All right, Rowley, like some sort of boy at the back. Behave yourself, Rowley.
Well, yes.
Good morning, Jess and Charlie. People just play the system by saying their kids have ADHD to get more benefits and drive around in a brand new car at my expense. What a bloody joke, says Sharon in Staffordshire. But, Charlie Rowley, the minute we have this conversation, the people who genuinely are claiming and need help think that we're attacking them. We're not. We're basically, as we say often, happy, all of us. You know, Alarm Clock Brits will get up and do their bit, right? But there are people taking the mickey.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not an attack on anybody, because the people that genuinely need help and need support, whether that's financially through the benefit system or whether it's through A&E appointments or seeing a GP or whatever, we're protecting those people because they're the people that still also can't get those appointments or can't see a GP or can't get the benefit because there is a backlog or there are too many people claiming or you have to go through all these other processes because there are other people that are not eligible or are taking us for a ride. So it's just about fairness. It's making sure the people that should be protected are protected and protected 100% of the way and getting rid of the people that are taking us for a ride. I
don't know how we do it. You might have heard me tell that story about the drunk woman in the ambulance in 8 hours and how I wrote an article in The Sun saying she should pay for it. Listen to the other side of the coin. Woco in the West Midlands. I was in a serious 65-mile-per-hour head-on car crash in the 90s. I was really lucky to survive. I was charged £48 for the ambulance. OK, insurance paid it, but can you please explain to me the justice of that when you consider the woman who gets drunk, gets dragged off the floor and vomits everywhere, and it's 8 hours. Disgusting. Right, listen, whatever you think about our labelling, let me know. Whatever you think about A&E departments. This is time Britons took responsibility. We can moan at the A&E, but there has to be individual responsibility. 0344 499 1000. Christian primed for those voice notes. And text to 87222. Sun, page 2, Charlie. Have you got your newspapers, dear?
I have.
This is actually, to me, quite frightening. And we have Zia Youssef from Reform on the show after 9 o'clock. Mayoral elections. Labour is postponing a slate of next year's mayoral elections, Rolly, until 2028. Polls for 4 planned new authorities, Greater Essex, Hampshire and the Solent, Sussex and Brighton, Norfolk and Suffolk, will be delayed. Ministers are expected to make the announcement today on the grounds that councils need more time to complete their reorganisation. The Tories and Reform up in arms, saying, you're only doing this, you hideous bunch of useless people, because you're going to lose. You are playing the game. It's a disgrace. Thoughts?
I couldn't agree more, because, again, what happened earlier this year, a number of county council elections were postponed, and were the ones that did take place, Reform absolutely had a clean sweep of them. So you can absolutely understand why the sitting current party in government, Labour, would be worried, because if they start to lose locally, if they start to lose on the ground, then, of course, you know, that'll be...
but they're going to be battered in May anyway. What about, taking the other view, what about, you know, the electorate? Again, this is my issue, and this isn't pro-reform or anti-anybody. What about politicians taking for granted the British people? I've said it for weeks, the silent majority. That's not fair to the people in those constituencies, right, whose democratic right is being eroded simply to what? Make sure that politicians stay in. That's disgusting.
Well, I didn't think anyone would disagree with that, but it seems to me at the minute it's just 2 politicians that are trying to be protected, and that's the Prime Minister and the Chancellor. And he's obviously going out of his way to protect the Chancellor, because I think he knows, as the Prime Minister, that if she goes, the Chancellor, then he's absolutely toast as well. But I think you're right, it's delaying the inevitable. You know, there may, I think, local elections will be an opportunity for the public to absolutely turn out in their droves to say and tell the government what they absolutely think about them, having raised taxes twice in 2 years, having said that they weren't going to touch taxes at all at the last general election, so taking us all for a ride there. Not to mention things like inheritance tax, taxing the farmers, taking the winter fuel allowance from pensioners, all the while basically doubling the benefits bill for people who, as we were just talking about, might not actually be entitled to it. So a lot of anger out there for people to vote on, and now having that denied, potentially, would be just another thing for the public, I think, to come out, whether it's in 2 years' time or 3 years' time or 4 or 5 years' time. It'll be 4 years until the next general election. Then they'll do it anyway. They will vote with their feet.
Ross in Durham says, absolute bloody disgrace. Elections are put back again. Democracy under threat. They'll do anything to stay in power. Love your thoughts on this. Listen, Zia Youssef from Reform on the show after 9 o'clock. Reform and the Tories up in arms as Labour postpones 4 major mayoral elections 2 years from next year to 2028 because they know they're going to be trounced. But I'll go back to it. Mark is nodding at me. Don't take the British people for idiots anymore. We have to say good morning to Kate.
Morning, Jeremy. This is Kate from Leeds. A&E overrun? No, I don't think so whatsoever. My daughter was there at the weekend, type 1 diabetic, left over 6 hours, nearly ended up in a coma. A woman behind her having an epileptic seizure, banging her head on the wall because all the nurses were chatting in a group. They just didn't realise. No, they're just bloody lazy.
Right. Well, listen, that's her experience, and she's absolutely entitled to that opinion, and individual experiences are what it's all about, and you could hear the emotion in her voice. I do try and defend the people on the front line. I'm not talking about the junior bloody doctors. They're a disgrace. Nurses who got 5%, it can't be easy. But everybody in the NHS, Charlie, surely needs to look at themselves, whether it's nurses chatting or doctors going on strike or... something that's come out of all the discussions about this, you know, people self-diagnosing or whatever. Can I just say a big shout out to paramedics, by the way? We always talk about doctors and nurses. What a job they do. I mean, for nothing like doctors get, and the abuse. I want your advice, because I see you, Charlie Rowley, as a political heavyweight. I see you as a romantic lightweight, but I still believe that you are the person for this. Lee says, morning, Jez. 4 weeks now of listening to your show and enjoy the common sense approach to discussions. I've got to be honest with you, Jez. I went on a second date with a lady last night. Found out halfway through that her political view is that, well, she's a Green. Dear. Oh dear. And she spent most of the evening saying Labour and the Greens are going to join together. I'd have dumped her straight away. I'm not sure being a Reform voter went down very well. Maybe a third date to convert her. Keep up the great show. Lee, been on the road since 2:30am this morning, down and next to Lee. Sorry, I'm just going to be honest, from another life. Get rid of her. I can't... no, honestly, seriously, a Green... What, that votes for a party of a man who thinks he can enhance the size of women's breasts? Honestly, if you said to me, my wife's gone, probably couldn't afford it, it'd be the third one, but a Green, you can't have a Green girlfriend, that's not working, is it?
They say opposites attract, and, you know, you just can't get much more opposite than that by the sounds of things. But,
no.
But I don't think the Greens and Labour will team up. Actually, I think there'll be lots of people from the Labour Party that do just join the Greens, and if they don't join the Greens, they'll join your party.
Not my party.
That party.
Your party.
That party.
The Newton Frut. What's the Newton Frut party? The Frut. That's just a joke. Let's get serious again, Sarah. Talk about A&E. Whenever we bring this up, 200,000 cases last year, people coming with a sore throat, a runny nose and ingrowing toenail. Ludicrous. Sarah says, I waited 27.5 hours for an ambulance for my profoundly disabled son, who is now under palliative care. That is the reality. That is where Great Britons, I'm afraid, need to look in the mirror and not go to A&E or call an ambulance. Holly says, I have cerebral palsy. The benefits do not just come close to outweighing the pain. I do anything not to have a disability because it makes everything harder, especially working full-time. And Holes, I'm going to say to you, absolutely what I say to all the people. We might have to have difficult discussions, but the genuine, like that lady whose son's in palliative care and severely disabled, like Holly with cerebral palsy, I will work all day to pay tax for you people, and I mean that because that's right. But the people who are taking advantage, whether it be the system or individual choice, are ruining it for those people, aren't they? That's the point.
Yeah, exactly. And look, including that last voice note you had from that woman in Leeds who, unfortunately, she saw her daughter go through A&E and didn't get the service that she thought, she should have done. But I think the people, you're right, who work in A&E, they have to live with their job day in, day out, and they're seeing all kinds of people, so they work at a particular pace, because otherwise they'll be burnt out, within an hour. So there has to be a pace and process of working in an A&E.
There has to be common sense as well, though. If you see somebody who's, having an epileptic fit and banging their head against a wall, as Kate said, can you get to her?
Totally.
Can we miss there's a 5-hour queue and we're going from A to Z, there's a person having an epileptic fit, that's just common sense, right?
Yeah, but there shouldn't be a queue, because part of that queue will be people with the ingrown toenail or the
they are a bugger, though, ingrown
nose
toenails, aren't they, to be fair? But I don't think any... Matt's in Derby a couple of weeks back, Jez. Richard Tice was being lambasted in the media for talking about the overdiagnosis in SEND. Now Labour, again, jumping on the bandwagon. Cliff, morning, he says, I think there are 2 reasons that have increased the risk of demand on A&E. First, major difficulties booking an appointment with the GP. We agree with that. Secondly, the breakdown of a society, especially at the family level. Many can no longer ask mum or nan or the wise old neighbour whether their newborn child has something seriously wrong. That's very true as well, isn't it? You can't ask your neighbour because they'll probably think that you're being unfair. Sean's in Gloucester. Good morning, JK. For those of us with more than one brain cell and some common sense, we've been saying for years that the snowflakes are overdiagnosed. A bad day, you must have anxiety or depression. Upset, you've got ADHD or something wrong. Our generation are resilient and just get on with things, but now this crap can be used as an excuse not to work.
Yeah, and I think, people, again, will have a lot of sympathy with that. We are an overdiagnosed nation where people are too quick, I think, now to reach for pills or tablets as some sort of, any kind of medication to solve a problem, rather than actually accept, I'm having a bad day, I'm having a bad week, or I can, instead of and I know, there's obviously a massive difference between people that actually got, mental health problems or suffering compared to people that actually might
have the conversation, though, mate.
Yeah, go for a run or do other things, go to the gym.
Gotta have the conversation.
Gotta have the conversation.
Care about the genuine people, but stop taking advantage. To the break with Pete. Morning, Pete.
Why have so many people suddenly got ADHD? A migraine isn't just a headache. If you suffer a migraine, matey, you're down for days. Migraines are one of the worst things anybody I've ever seen. My other half, she suffers that, and it's absolutely dreadful. One of your callers said about minor ailments going to hospital. Well, sometimes these minor ailments, right, have turned out when people have gone into A&E, they've gone in there with what you would think are minor ailments turn out to be life-threatening situations. But the worst thing is, again, people can't get to see a GP. Why can't people get to see a GP? This is what's making all the situation worse.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Good morning, my friends. 20 to 7. You're waking up to Talks, the home of common sense, where the nation comes to talk. Please get involved this morning. 87222 on your text and 0344 499 1000 for those voice notes or calls. Health Secretary Wes Streeting orders an independent review into basically over-labelling. Suddenly, mental health conditions such as ADHD have become the most common reason to claim sickness benefit. Does that, listen, we're not talking about the genuine people. Does that mean that we seem to now label everybody and anybody? Ricky. Hello, Dave. Also, you're waking up to the news that in A&E, 200,000 cases last winter. Oh, I've got an ingrowing toenail or a hurty throat or a blocked nose. Deal with it. We've talked about mayoral elections. Very quickly, Jez, A&E queues. What happened to the practice of triage? If someone turns up at A&E with something minor, they should be met by a staff nurse who simply says no. That would impact queues. Stuart Brown, Jez, Charlie. Oh, you're in again, really. Last year in A&E with my mother for hours, and the police were dropping off drunks and all sorts of nutters there. And when I asked an officer just why they were doing this, they said it was protocol. Jesus, it's honestly, I swear to God, I'm going to get to a point where I just don't understand. Anyway, Charlie Rowley, can we please turn to page 11 on the Mail? This is a story also today that will fly. We've heard so much about Crowborough in East Sussex. This is the there's basically a military base, a training camp. There were rumours that migrants were going to be moved in, unvetted men, the pink ladies, the women, mothers, saying, sorry, this isn't great. Much made of that in the press. Today we can confirm, or the government has, that teenage cadets have been ordered to leave their training camp to make way for 600 small boat migrants after the Ministry Defence chiefs admit it'll no longer be safe for them. So the cadets who serve in the British Army as kids have got to leave a base where they've been for 80-something years, right, to make way for 600 unvetted migrants that the defence chiefs are admitting are dangerous.
And
Just don't let them come in. I swear to God, what are we saying?
Well, what are they saying? That apparently it's not safe for these young cadets to be training there, but it's safe enough for these migrants to be in their town and village and sharing the same shops, the same high streets, the same everything else. They are still in the same area. So why is it not safe for one group of people, but all of a sudden then safe for the rest of the community? It's bonkers. And when the government says, as it will repeatedly try to hammer home the message that they're scaling down hotels, they're closing the hotel migrants, they're not. They're moving people from hotels into bases like this cadet base and other accommodation that they haven't specified, which will probably be newly built accommodation and just called immigration
detention
centres or whatever.
Something like that.
So it's moving it's shuffling the pack. It's not dealing with the problem. But you're absolutely right. Again, why is it that people who are signing up to serve this country, to put their lives on the line in due course, to train to defend the freedoms that we all enjoy, only to have those freedoms taken away, only to be shunted to the bottom of the queue, to be prioritised over and above by people that have come on a small boat, that we don't know who they are, where they've come from, what their angle is. I mean, and to be perfectly blunt, it's at a point where, okay, you're from Eritrea. I don't know anything about Eritrea.
No.
There might be some huge conflict there, but you've come through France. You've come through any
I
other
haven't talked about migration for 2 weeks. This site in Crowborough, East Sussex, is set to be turned into open accommodation for male asylum seekers by the end of the month. The cadets' camp, previously used by the British and Canadian military during the First and Second World War. I'm just going to say it, OK? We seem to get now in this country the most basic things wrong. I am sick to death about how do we stop the boats? How do we do this? What's a good deterrent? Where would she put these people? Just stop them coming in. Shall I tell you why? Because they're unvetted and they're dangerous. But more than that, the British people, the silent majority, are moaning and are going to do something soon to this government in terms of a vote because they're at the back of the queue. It's really simple, isn't it? If you stop making Britain so easy to take advantage of, people wouldn't come here. Put these people in a detention centre on the Orkneys. No disrespect if you live in Orkney. Seriously, the messaging is, oh, let's go to Britain because we'll wipe your backside. It's outrageous. To alarm clock Britain, to people who get up and go to work, to everybody, to people who are suffering on benefits and want to work, to people who can't get jack. They hear this stuff. And we're basically saying, thanks, boys, for training to fight for king and country. We're going to have to move you because we're moving 600 thugs who we don't know where they've come from, but don't worry about the people of East Crowborough. Utterly, utterly dreadful. Despicable. Sorry.
You're absolutely right, Jeremy. And, you know, why do we get the basic things wrong? And part of that is saying...
Because our politicians are stupid.
But, and people will have a lot of sympathy with that. And, of all colours, and people that have made mistakes in the past. Because it will still, I've used this example before, but, in relation to these young cadets starting out in their careers, the veterans that have served this country
are now on the streets.
And nobody's been able to move fast enough to accommodate 600 migrants coming in small boats, but yet we can't accommodate people that have actually put on that uniform, that have put their lives on the line to defend our freedoms. That is absurd.
And actually, to you and I, and we're both proud Brits, that embarrasses the hell out of me. I talk every week. I go to the same town, it doesn't matter where, on a Saturday with my kids to do whatever. And there is a veteran who sits there. He's been out on Civvy Street 14 years. I talk to him every week. I buy him a meal deal. He always has the Snickers. I don't know why. But I look at him and he'll say, we've been thrown out of our hotel for migrants. He gave 14 year. Would have taken a bullet for Queen, King and Country. And he's on the streets and people say, oh, you're being really unfair to these people. No, I'm not. I'll look after anybody who deserves it, but I am sick to death of us wiping the backside of people who are taking advantage. That's all I'm saying. Listen, loads to wake up to. A&E departments, why do you go? Because you've got an ingrowing toe. Now get a grip. Labour's postponing elections, to which, this is quite interesting, Mick says Labour are joining a list of totalitarian regimes who have cancelled elections. We're becoming like Russia, North Korea, Palestine, Romania and the Friends of Communist China. Well, he's just summed up my Thursday perfectly. And, of course, that news... Thanks for joining the British Army and being a cadet. Thanks for putting your life potentially on the line. We're going to have to move you out your barracks, though. Sorry, because we've got 600 migrants coming in and it's not safe. Let's just forget the people of East Crowborough. Nikki, good morning.
Hi, Jezza. It's terrible what they're doing to our children at the moment with all this ADHD. I think it's a diagnosis that is now just labelling children. It's going to make their future so much harder, as if it's not hard enough now. Anyway, that's my feelings on things. Love your show. Bye.
The Talk app. You can watch, catch up and listen to all your favourite shows and podcasts anytime, anywhere, all on the Talk app. Watching and listening to Talk just got easier. There's now only one place for the home of common sense. So head over to your App Store or Google Play and search Talk now.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
A very good morning, welcome to Talk, the home of common sense. Charlie Rowley, the legend that is Charlie Rowley, doing papers. We're talking A&E, we're talking about too many labelling and diagnosis. Labour postponing elections. Billy, good morning.
Morning, Jez. This is Billy from Hampshire. You know, one of those counties that are not allowed to vote. This is, one, dangerous, two, disgraceful. Labour do not care about the British electorate. They are out for themselves. They're drunk on power. And these delays, all it is so that they can ensure that, you know, their benefit and welfare bill that's buying them voters else out. They can change the voting rules. You know, get all those 16-year-olds in, and they're just running scared. This is tyranny. This is not what we voted for. It's disgraceful.
It is disgraceful, Charlie, isn't it? Labour postponing a number of mayoral elections till 2028. Morning, Jez. Morning, lovely Charlie. Jason from Taunton. I found out last week the reason why I can't get to see my GP is because the man works 2 days a week at a local hotel. seeing migrant people. So, how honest to God. Dave says, he loves you, Dave. He says, just a point, my alarm clock goes off at 2:30 a.m. because I work 12-hour shifts, 4 on, 4 off. I'm off now and just about knowing what time of day it is. Love your show, it keeps me sane. Thank you, Big Dave. I don't know why I added the big there, it's probably not the case. Did we know there was an earthquake in Lancashire last night?
No.
Yes.
Is there?
Oh, there was. Overnight, a 3.3 magnitude earthquake shook homes in the northwest. Maybe it'll wake some of them up. Tremors were felt near the epicentre in Lancashire and Cumbria. And Andy in Morecambe. Do you know what Morecambe's famous for? Tyson Fury. Morning, Jez. So there was an earthquake in Lancashire last night and not caused by fracking because there is none. Great show. Good on you, Andy. Brilliant. Now, Charlie, we obviously do the serious stuff.
Yes.
I'm going to have a little bit of a rant. Well, are you a Meghan Markle fan?
I am not a Meghan. I can confirm I am not a Meghan Markle fan.
Yesterday, quite sad news that her dad, who she's been estranged from for ages, according to her brother, Thomas, is fighting for his life after emergency surgery in the Philippines. Thomas Markle is 81. He's been in bad health. Now, you know, there are plenty of families that are estranged, but at the moment that her father is fighting for his life in a Philippines intensive hospital, what do you think she's doing? Putting out a video. Have we got the video? Yeah, this is what she put out as her dad is fighting for his life, yeah?
If you was treated like a king for the day, what would you want me to do for you?
Beg for me, probably.
You'd want me to do what? Beg?
Beg.
Beg? Beg?
B-A-K. Beg. Bake.
Oh, bake!
That's a video of Prince Harry on the Stephen Colbert show. That's the exact time her dad's potentially dying. Does anybody need any further proof about what a heinous woman she is?
No, you're absolutely...
Am I allowed to say that? Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, totally. And anyone that was in any doubt about, well, you know, Prince Harry was having a terrible time and he could be forgiven for the book that he wrote where he was sort of basically slagged off his entire family, called them racist, where he's been the victim of this terrible media witch hunt all of his life and how, you know, but they can only tell us that through the prism of Netflix deals that have obviously gone on to flop.
Because I thought they went out of this country because they didn't like the press intrusion.
Absolutely right. They wanted privacy. They need their privacy.
Then they landed in California and signed a $112 million deal with Spotify.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on Meghan would always be welcome. Two stories, slightly light-hearted. Well, I don't know if it's light-hearted. Yesterday, have you been to the Ritz ever?
I've been to the lobby of it, yes.
Why have you been to the... Well, you wouldn't have wanted to have gone to the lobby yesterday. We're not London-centric here, my friends. I care about all of you. But yesterday at the Ritz, the scene of when remember poor Hugh Grant? When he went there to see Julia Roberts in Notting Hill and he thought he was going to have a bit of romance. He got there and the boyfriend turned up. Anyway, activists who hate the rich, probably Greens, decided to dump a lot of... in the Ritz's lobby yesterday. Have a look at this video. They dumped manure in the foyer. This is outrageous. This is extraordinary. Imagine just going to a hotel and lowering a load of poo in front of a Christmas tree. And can I also give credit again to the world's greatest strapline writer? What's his name? Again? Cal has just put jingle smells, jingle all the way. How good's that?
Very good. Very
what
good.
is it about activists?
I mean, no one else can seem to have a good time, can they? You know, they want to wreck it for everybody. People that would have been at that hotel, people that might have wanted to go to that hotel.
Stink now.
And you should talk to, I mean, he's around, but Steve Denyer, he introduced me to...
Did he?
The chap that I think puts up this very tree. So he will know the hard work that obviously, and what they have to do, they have to get
What are you pointing at, man? What are you using the tree? So Steve Denyer from Virgin Radio, excellent, a good friend of ours, knows the man that erected the tree inside the Ritz.
Absolutely, 100%.
You and Steve Denyer have a very strange life. The other slightly light-hearted story, as we head to the news at 7, and this is in the Telegraph today, a lick from a dog make teenagers happier adults. I'm enthralled to know why a lick from a dog, as somebody pointed out earlier, dogs lick other parts of their own anatomy. But more than that, as we head into the show, into the next hour, what makes you happy? What makes you happy?
Well, apart from
being here,
from
honestly,
being
seriously,
here.
what puts a smile in your face, a spring in your step, and makes you want to have your hat at a jaunty angle? What does that to you?
Well, your listeners might not agree or think it, but when Arsenal win matches,
Are you a football fan?
I am. I'm a season ticket holder.
Are you a gooner?
I am.
You awful human being. Oh my God, I've got to deal with Morgan, and now I've got to deal with you. Oh my God.
So that's obviously something that makes me happy. I love a trip to the theatre. That's probably not so surprising to your listeners.
Hello, Dolly.
What
else?
Yes, one of my favourites.
We'd love to hear from you. What makes you happy? That's a genuine story this morning in the Daily Telegraph. Thank you, Charlie. You are a legend. We'll see you next week. You're waking up then across Britain, and thank you if you're up already, Alarm Clock Brits. Health Secretary Wes Streeting ordering an independent review into the overdiagnosis of mental health conditions such as ADHD on the news that this has become the most common reason for sickness benefit claims. We're just asking on the show this morning, have we become a society that's over-reliant on labels? That is not, by the way, in any way disrespecting those who genuinely need our help, be that medically or be it financially, because I think all of us with any conscience at all would say that is a good thing. But we have to accept. On the morning, we also find out that at A&E, last winter, 200,000 cases. Imagine it's on its backside, which it is, and we can moan about money and DEI and all that. But 200,000 people, yes, 200,000 people went to A&E last winter with conditions like hiccups, ingrowing toenails, a sore throat and a blocked nose. Get a grip, Britain. Come on, that's true. Labour today accused of postponing 4 mayoral elections from 2026 next year to 2028. Many people are saying they're running scared. This is disgrace. And the other big news story, you'll have heard about East Crowborough in Sussex. It's been confirmed. Teenage cadets are to be ordered to leave their training camp after years and years because they're moving 600 migrants in, and the defence chiefs are saying to our young cadets who have signed up to fight for King and Country, you're not safe to be there because these migrants are unvetted. But it's all right, is it, to put them in the countryside amongst our own people? We will do the news at 7, and we will be back with more on Morning Glory. Kicking off with Sir John Redwood, former Cabinet Minister, next.
Across the UK. On DAB+. On YouTube. On your mobile. And on your side. This is Talk.
Good morning, Britain. How are you? Just gone 7 o'clock. We're live across the United Kingdom on Talks, the home of free speech and common sense, and where the nation comes to speak. We want you involved this morning. Your texts are always welcome. 87222. Start that message with the word talk. And, of course, as ever, those voice notes, 0344 499 1000. You're waking up to lots of stories that have got you going. Health Secretary Wes Streeting has ordered that independent review into... well, the fact that ADHD now is one of the most common reasons for sickness benefit claims. We're not talking about the genuine people. We want to help those people, but a bit like other benefits. Have you got to the point where people are taking advantage in your mind, where labelling is ludicrous? Listen, A&E last winter, 200,000 cases of people going, I've got an ingrown toenail, I've got a sore throat, my nose is a bit blocked, could you help me out? You might blame the GP queues. But surely as Brits we need to take responsibility. Your thoughts on that? Labour officially postponing 4 mayoral elections next year for another 2 years. They're on the run, aren't they? What? They're going to be battered anyway in May. Zia Youssef from Reform, he's candescent about that. He's on at 9 o'clock. And that story in East Crowborough, Sussex, where the Pink Ladies have done such an amazing job. Basically, we're told some months ago, look, we're going to move 600 illegal migrants, male illegal asylum seekers is what the good people want me to say, who haven't been vetted to stay there whilst we process them. The community is saying this isn't safe. There's definitive proof this is dangerous to our families and our children. No, it's happening. Today they are confirming that teenage cadets who have used this base for 80 years since the Second World War, teenage cadets who have signed up for King and Country have been ordered to leave their training camp by the Defence Secretary. And you ready for this? Because they say it'll no longer be safe for them. Question to the Defence Secretary, very simply, who won't come on this show, is so it's not safe for our young men to stay on their camp because you're moving 600 unvetted, dangerous, potentially people in who shouldn't be here, by the way. But you're all right with putting them in a community, are you? 7:05. What an absolute disgrace. Christy, I guarantee people who are going to A&E for hiccups and blocked noses are on the dole. Working people carry on working when they have a blocked nose and hiccups. They don't have time to go to A&E because we wouldn't get paid and we wouldn't be able to survive. Lisa, do you know that Craigavon Hospital in Northern Ireland, Jez, informed the public last night that waiting times from now on to see somebody would be 19 hours. 19 hours. How have we got to this point? We've got to this point, you know, some people will jump up and down and they'll go, it's all about money. Maybe it is, but it is also surely about ourselves taking advantage and people using and gaming the system. Good morning to Katie in North Yorkshire. Jez, I'm 37 and I know a few people I went to school with who are being diagnosed with ADHD. It can be managed, though, by medication. That's the message I want to say. And once stable, you can live your life better since medication. Like the previous commentator said, you learn to manage your symptoms and your behaviour. PIP is being overpaid to people who exaggerate their own or their children's conditions to get more money to spend on themselves. I'm very happy to pay tax for benefits for people who genuinely need it, but like the rest of us, I'm getting increasingly mad. Good morning, Mike.
Morning, Jez. Great show. It's Mike again. Listen, I've got ADHD, I've got PIP, I'm on my way to work, I've had the PIP for 8 years, I've also got antisocial supportive personality disorder, I'm a veteran, I've got PTSD, I've got dissociative personality disorder, I've got autism, I have someone in the car with me because I can't drive on my own. I know you're not attacking, but this is the big problem, and I agree with you all. There are people playing the system. It is incredibly difficult for me to even face a lot of days, and I do get help, but there's some medications that will never cure what I've got. And I'm not saying I'm a dangerous person, I'm saying, you know, this can go into dangerous territory. The people that are just being done for ADHD and anxiety, I don't buy into this. I don't buy it, and I agree with the rest of the nation, but I'm one of the good guys that get up and work 40 hours a week. So, you know, I just thought I'd let everybody know I'm not afraid to speak up. Great show anyway.
Love him. That is exactly what I have been saying. Did you hear what that man's got? PTSD from being a veteran. He's got diagnosed problems. And as a society, we're helping him quite rightly. We should probably do more than we do. And what's he doing? At 7:07, he's part of Alarm Clock Britain. He's going to work. He's got somebody there helping him. That is what I am trying to say. Mike, call of the day by a merry mile. Keep them going. Now, here's a man who... used to be a Conservative cabinet minister, but now allegedly is going to appear in Panto with me one Christmas. Sir John Redwood, good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, Jeremy. I thought you'd never ask. I've been missing the home of common sense. It's good to be back with you. Great show.
It's great to have you on, sir. Oh, no, we didn't. Where do we start, John? You over the years, held a variety of cabinet posts, and I know from our time on Drive, you've just been amazingly straight with me, now free of the shackles. We wake up to the news. The Health Secretary, Wes Streeting, has ordered this independent review into the overdiagnosis of mental health conditions like ADHD. And for me, we're talking about benefits. I keep making the point, the genuine, like that guy, absolutely we should support. But, John, it is about time, is it not, that we stopped having a label for everything and stopped saying to people, if you just throw that in the mix, you don't have to work, because it's not fair to Alarm Clock Britain, is it?
Well, I agree. Better late than never to have this review. But under this government, the curve, which was going up already under the previous one, has absolutely soared. And, 4 million people with all these disability benefits. Now, like you, I want to be even more generous to those who really are so badly disabled they can't get up in the morning and go to work. But there are lots of people who can. And quite a lot of the ones with mild mental difficulties would find the best therapy is to actually get a job and get out there and meet some new colleagues and friends.
I couldn't agree more, and I do think, that call to me, Mike, is just absolutely fantastic. The other part of this debate is that we find out this morning, John, that A&E departments last winter, in the winter, 200,000 people of our society went in and went, I'm really sorry, but I've got an ingrowing toenail. We're not even making this up. We've got an ingrowing toenail, I've got a blocked nose, I don't know how to deal with this migraine. Now, the argument from some will be, well, we can't see a GP because they spend 2 days a week dealing with illegal migrants. But do we not also, John, if we're being candid on this show, people have to take responsibility, don't they? That's just a joke.
Well, of course, it's a free service, and we taxpayers are very happy to pay for people who are really ill and need the professionalism of our best doctors and nurses. But there are lots of abuses, and for these minor conditions, the rest of us would either just get over it, or we would go to the local chemist and buy a tube of something and get on with it. And you should not be messing up A&E, where there could be people who are major trauma victims who have got serious heart problems or whatever, because they need to be seen quickly and given the really good quality treatment our best nurses and doctors can give.
What do we do, though? Somebody earlier said, surely the staff there should be more vigilant. And I said, listen, I'll forever... I was in A&E the other day with my son for 7 hours. I'll forever stick up for those staff. The abuse, the hours, the conditions, awful. How do we control it? Somebody suggested earlier. I mean, this is really, really interesting. I'm going to find it, and hopefully, yes. Anonymous, he says, I'm on my way to Leeds for a 9-hour shift in A&E. I say charge them 20 quid to go, and if you're a genuine case, you get your money back. I mean, that's how people are getting to, John.
Yeah, I think some people will be arguing for that. I think immediately we need to send out, as your show is doing, a strong message to all the people of goodwill out there to get this over to their friends and loved ones. And we must all know some of these people, or we must have contact with some of these people that abuse the system. So the social networks have got to work. Parents have got to tell children, grandparents have got to tell their children, because everybody is in a family or has friends or neighbours, and there needs to be some social pressure.
Have we become too reliant on the state? This is this labelling thing and benefits and A&E, because I want all of the things that make, or did used to make, this country great to still be there. But we seem to look on a daily basis, pal, at increasing abuses. It's like the migration issue to me. We'll talk about it in a minute. Toughen up. This country needs to toughen up and not be afraid to say to people who are gaming the system, no, you're not having it.
Well, government needs to toughen up, and we've just had a second budget in the same mould as the first, doing so much damage to all those of us who do work hard and save and try and create jobs or promote businesses or whatever. in order to pay for an ever bigger army of people who've only just arrived here, many of them illegally, or people who are gaming the system in the way you've described. So we need a firmer government. And that budget reckons that we can go and borrow another 628 billion. Well, that's all money that you and I and our children and grandchildren have got to repay or pay the interest on.
We haven't spoken for a while. We'll quickly come on to that. There's other stuff to talk about. Have you been... I mean, I knew, because I'm old enough, and you're even older, for goodness sake, man, but I knew how bad this was going to be, because essentially they've only got one policy, Labour, and that's to tax everybody. But have you been amazed, John, with such a sizable majority, how this disastrous government has imploded so quickly?
Yes, I have been amazed, because I thought Starmer might be a bit better than he's turned out to be. He's been a senior civil servant and he must know how to try and run things, but he certainly doesn't as Prime Minister. He's not offering the leadership the country needs or the government requires. And I'm being even more amazed because I thought, as they had Mandelson before the problems he encountered, helping advise them, they would at least be good at spinning. I thought they would be able to tell us a good story, but they haven't even been able to do that. There's no narrative of where they want to take the country to and how it would be better in 2 or 3 years' time. All you get is ministers on the back foot the whole time complaining, oh, don't blame me. I've only been a minister for a year and a half. If it's all rubbish, it's somebody else's fault. Well, after a year and a half, it's your fault. You could have made changes. You've got tons of money. You're showering cash all over the place. Spend it wisely and get a grip on whatever you think is wrong.
Completely. Couple of other stories this morning. Labour has confirmed it's postponing next year's mayoral elections to John Redwood until 2028. That's 2 years for 4 combined new authorities: Essex, Hampshire, the Solent, Sussex and Brighton, and Norfolk and Sutton. Sussex, the decision has sparked claims that Labour is delaying the election for political purposes.
Well, of course they are. This is the second year we've heard this, and this is a disgrace. And just because you're low in the polls, you can't then say to people, oh, you're not allowed to vote anymore. And I do think it's about time some of these Labour backbenchers woke up. And when I was a backbencher, if the government did something really wrong, I and a group of people made it crystal clear and went on the airwaves and, if necessary, voted against the government. They've got to learn to grow up and take some responsibility because their leader is taking them down. He's taking them down to new depths the Labour Party has never been in polling terms. So wake up, backbenchers, assert yourself, try to be the voice of the nation, because the nation is far from impressed.
Listen, it's great, mate. It's so good. Just finally, before we let you go, very, very quickly, teenage cadets being moved out of that military base in East Crowborough to allow 600 migrants to come in. And the Defence Secretary this morning will say it's not safe. So people who have signed up for King and Country are being moved out so men who haven't been vetted can be moved in and sod the local community, Sir John Redwood. It's outrageous.
Well, it takes your breath away again, because at last the government says something sensible. We've been warning them that loads of unvetted people coming in could include people who are a danger.
Yep.
There have been a series of cases where individuals who've come in illegally have committed nasty crimes, and the government seems to ignore it and says, oh, well, why don't we have more of these people and put them all around the country in even more difficult places? And then, as you rightly say, a minister blurts out a truth, and there's no explanation of why they contradict each other. It's an absolute mess. So good to have you on, my friend. Sir John Redwood, former Conservative Cabinet Minister, thank you. He'll be a regular feature. 7:15. Wes Streeting has issued this review. The review's all about, mental health conditions. Are we over-labelling people? Dan, good morning.
Morning, Jeremy. It's Dan from Kent. I think in a lot of cases, especially in children being diagnosed with ADHD, it's treated as a fashion tag by the parents. My friend, daughter, diagnosed as ADHD. I just think she's a bit of an angry child with a lot of energy. They get a bumper benefit payout. They even get a fast-track pass to Alton Towers, so you don't have to queue like everyone else. Can you imagine, God forbid, we go to war with Russia and this young generation gets conscripted? Can you imagine the excuses? Oh, I can't carry that rifle, it's too heavy. My anxiety. Oh, those boots, no, my ingrown toenail, not for me. Benefit Britain, it's falling apart. Great show.
Sorry, did he just say you get a day pass to a theme park? Queuing so that you don't... World's gone mad. Stuart in Bristol, good morning. A&E needs a tougher triage system. If you turn up with a headache or a skin complaint, you're immediately turned around and told to go to a chemist or go home. Take some tablets, get rid of them. The genuine cases go through. Stuart, I agree, but we've had people earlier saying, oh, I went to the chemist and they said, we can't help you, you should go to A&E. And then you get to A&E because you can't see a doctor because they're probably seeing an illegal migrant. There's a 7-hour queue. Miranda's in Cumbria. Good morning, Miranda.
Hello, good morning.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
You are a former nurse. This is on you. Tell us the truth.
Well, A&E really isn't fit for purpose. In fact, when you go to reception, you have somebody who isn't trained in anything clinical. So when you go into A&E, say my son had a sore throat, but his throat was black, he couldn't speak, he had a massive temperature, he needed IV antibiotics and hydrocortisone. We found that only 3 people in that A&E, from my perspective, were actually genuine patients. The rest were having picnics, wandering about, maybe limping, but basically weight bearing on. And it was almost a joke for some people while they were in there. And if you had somebody within A&E in the reception who did have some clinical knowledge, you could be able to maybe to fast track patients who are in genuine need. But they don't. There's a receptionist there who basically says sore throat or DMV or nausea and vomiting, not the fact that some patients couldn't actually stand. And
do you, as a nurse, I'm really interested in your opinion as a nurse, because, you know, I'll stick up for nurses forever against those bloody lazy junior doctors. Answer me this, right? What is the answer? Because, you know, they'll ring me, alarm clock Brit, or message me this morning and they'll say, look, you can't see GP, the chemists tell you to do one, what else is happening? But are we not becoming a society that should take more responsibility? But I'm more interested, how does A&E deal with this? How do they get rid of the grift? How do you say, no, just go and grow up a bit and go for a run or deal with it yourself? How does the nursing profession or the medical profession deal with this, do you think?
A GP should be more accessible, for one. Like I said, there should be somebody within the reception area who does have some medical background, who can fast track genuine patients. The rest, you have to basically say you're going to be sat here for 12 hours. The people genuine will stay. The people who aren't will leave at the end of the day. You always find as well, the day before a bank holiday ends, A&E will fill up because nobody wants to go back to work on the Tuesday or the Sunday, and it's just horrendous. So the people who are genuine will sit there, and they'll get progressively worse. We had to grab for my son a consultant, and he took them, and they were completely unaware behind the scenes that there were people who did actually need to be seen immediately, and that's the only way they'll do it. They have to have somebody in reception who knows that somebody is actually very, very ill.
From a nurse's point of view, very quickly, really appreciate your call. How just completely depressing and demoralising is it when you see... You presumably do a job like that because it's vocational, you want to help people, and you see people gaming the system. How annoying is that to a medical professional?
It makes me furious. And you need more nursing staff. You need people to register with doctors, because you find that a lot of people, they're not registered with a GP anyway. And you hear when you enter walking through the doors and you're actually in a cubicle, you can hear people saying you must go and register with a doctor. Children, people take children who are running about throwing teddies, and you find that I think they've broken their arm, and they're like, no, they haven't broken their arm. Otherwise, they wouldn't be running about throwing a teddy in the air and catching it. There has to be some accountability at the end of the day.
Really good to have you on. Cumbria is a lovely part of the UK. Miranda, thank you very much indeed. Excuse me, 7:21, so you're waking up to this news. There's so much news, to be honest. West Streeting, a review into labelling ADHD, now one of the most common reasons for sickness benefit claims. What do you make of that? Labour cancelling mayoral elections next year. They don't want to hear what the people want to say. And East Crowborough in Sussex is going to welcome 600 illegal migrants, unvetted men. And do you know how they're going to accommodate them? They've said to the cadets who have been there 80 years since the Second World War, you better leave quick because it's not safe. This country's gone nuts. 7:22.
the Talk app. You can watch, catch up and listen to all your favourite shows and podcasts anytime, anywhere, all on the Talk app. Watching and listening to Talk just got easier. There's now only one place for the home of common sense. So head over to your App Store or Google Play and search Talk now.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
So, over-diagnosis, people going to A&E with toenails and a cough and a blocked nose. It's all going on. Tim says, Jez, I'm a retired paramedic. I spent 38 years practicing in London. The biggest reason paramedics can't get to serious jobs in a timely manner is because of the massive number of 999 calls that in no way justify ambulance service attendance. Back to that theory, right, let's be honest, that we need to take responsibility. Wes Streeting today, the Health Secretary, putting aside for a minute his ambitions to be the leader of the Labour Party, has issued this decree, this is my new word, where he says, I'm doing an independent review into mental health conditions such as ADHD, because the Labour Party's woken up to the fact that people suddenly are saying, maybe I have that to get that. Now, we're not saying in any way that there are not genuine people. Sean, good morning.
Morning, Jeremy. Sean from Grimsby here. On Monday morning, a bloke who I work with who's 76 got diagnosed with cancer. He was back in work on Monday afternoon and again on Tuesday, Wednesday and this morning, and he'll be in work tomorrow morning too. He'll be in work till the very end. Now, this bloke is literally dying, and he is providing payments for people who say they're anxious, it's too cold to go outside, I can't get to work. Now, it makes me want to gag. And all these people who are claiming it should look at this fella and think, what the hell am I doing? Great show, mate.
Good man, Sean, and to that man we wish him the best. And absolutely, I don't know, maybe it's me, Shawnee, but that's what we were told to do in our day, because you couldn't be as reliant. And that is a major debate this country needs to have, whether it's sickness benefit, whatever it is. We want to help the genuine, but we're sick and tired of being ripped off. We say a very good morning to Dr. Dean Eggett, GP and CEO of the Doncaster Local Medical Committee. How are you, Dino?
Good morning, Jeremy. Great to see you. I'm well, thanks.
This is interesting. Wes Streeting today ordering that independent review into overdiagnosis of mental health conditions, which has led me to ask people, you know, have we become label obsessed? Of course, one has to make the point that there are many who do suffer, but surely even you'd agree. We've now got to a point where people are using it and gaming the system, aren't they, Dino?
Well, society changes. In the past, we would not necessarily have recognised ADHD, autism, and problems such as this in the same way that we do now. But I have to be honest, I think some people do use it as a way to get out of work. I do see many patients who are probably would benefit from being around people, talking to people more, engaging more in society rather than retreating from society. But having said that, there are a large number of people also who cannot engage well with society, cannot work very well. So I don't think it's fair that we label all of these people, but certainly some are finding that these labels help them get out of work and get some money into their pockets via the benefit system.
And I agree with you entirely, and we've said that from 6 o'clock. But as much as people will say, well, if we raise the subject, we're going to upset the people who will feel they're being unfairly labelled. We also should not listen to the people who say everybody... You're so right. There's down the middle. I want more conversation about people who are suffering genuinely and have done for years. But we also have to be mature enough to point out that the people who are taking advantage, in fact, Dino, are taking money away and attention and detail and help to those very people who need it. And that, to me, is what's fundamentally wrong. I'm so interested into your next view. Figures this morning from the government. A&E departments are under siege. Last year, 200,000 A&E cases could have been dealt with elsewhere. as hundreds of people turned up at A&E, watch Dean's face, with terrible conditions, hiccups, sore throats, ingrowing toenails and blocked noses. You're smiling and so am I, but Britain has to take responsibility to a degree, doesn't it?
I'm smiling because this isn't news to me. You know, I've been a doctor for many years now, so we all know this happens. So being serious for a brief moment and factual based. So when patients present with life-threatening problems, we don't really want them presenting at the point of sepsis when they're dying. We want them presenting when it's an early problem and we can do something about it. So actually an ingrowing toenail may not be an ingrowing toenail. It may be the first sign of a cancer in the toe. A sniffle and a blocked nose may not actually be a bit of a cold. It may actually be a cancer in the sinus. A bit of chest pain, a bit of an ache when you've lifted something may actually be a popped lung. And part of the speciality is understanding and seeing the difference between what appears to be very minor, but actually is quite life-threatening. And I don't think we can expect patients to be able to tell the difference between that. I think we do need some healthcare profession in there that's easy to access to be able to say, you know what, this is just an ingrown toenail. You don't need to do anything about it.
Is it the issue that people can't see a GP as readily, which is why they're pitching up at A&E? I take your point, but you must also accept, I'm sure, that there are people who just think it's acceptable to turn it. Here's a question for you. Have you ever turned anybody away?
No. So I don't personally turn people away. If somebody will come to me, I will offer them an appointment. But the reality is there's only so many hours in my day and I only have so much brain capacity. So I'm a GP. I have the same problem as every other practice. If you contact my practice, at some point you're going to be told by my reception team, I'm sorry, Dr. Agate is full now. He can't see anybody else because I don't have anything else to give to patients. And those patients will end up in A&E. So there is a lot of evidence, actually. And I'm going to get shot for saying this because most doctors hate saying it. But the reality is there's plenty of evidence to show that when access to general practice is bad, people follow the easiest route, and the easiest route is to go to A&E.
Absolutely.
So when you have an early health illness, what you actually need is brilliant access to general practice, and we just don't have that. Actually, where something like 700 GPs short, full-time GPs short of where we need to be to deliver some reasonable access for patients, as we are now. But actually, we've lost hundreds of GP practices over the last decade, and we haven't replaced them. We're 9 hospitals short of actually where we need for capacity just to be static. So what we have is the last decade of lacking of investment in infrastructure in the NHS, which provides good access. So let's not be gaslit by West Streeting here. The problem isn't just about patients. The problem isn't just about people taking more responsibility for themselves. It's the lack of infrastructure so that patients can get decent access to healthcare and help making an early decision.
Really appreciate your comments. Dr. Dean Eggett, GP, CEO of the Doncaster Local Medical Committee. Earlier on, this is genuinely true, 7:32, in the Daily Telegraph, a lick from a dog makes teenagers happier adults. Really? It slightly confuses me because I think I know what dogs lick before they lick teenagers. But listen, on a serious note, I want to know on this miserable Thursday, you know, in a country that seems to be on its back, so what makes you happy? Daniel, what makes you happy?
Good morning, Jezza. It's Daniel from Epsom here. What makes me happy is I wake up in the morning, nice and early, and I think about Nigel Farage and Richard Tice and Zia Youssef all standing behind a lectern at number 10 Downing Street and turning this wreck of a country around, protecting our borders, protecting our people, bringing back law and order and common decency into Britain. I can't wait. I just cannot wait.
No dog licking then. We say a very good morning on the... Listen, this man's career is going through the stratosphere since he started working with me. The Deputy Chairman of the Conservative Party, who was up at the lectern yesterday in the Commons, Matt Vickers. It's almost like you're almost like you're in a relationship with me, Matt. How are you, son?
Good morning, Jazz. It's a bit colder out here and there's no coffee, but yeah, all the same, bright and early, good to see you.
You looked very serious yesterday. Even I walked into the office and there you were at the dispatch box reading your notes. Don't you learn what you're going to say, you and the fellow Tories? Why'd you read it the whole time?
Well, sometimes, it's a very serious subject we were discussing yesterday. We've got to fake it till you make it. You've got to look serious and try and pull off the part.
Before we get serious, I've got to ask
Fun
you a
time.
question. People to this station will know that you are a singleton, and we had a guy on earlier who basically said, and I quote, "I was on a second date, Jez, last night, and I discovered," he's a Reform voter, "that she's a Green. What should I do?" And I went, "Dump her." Would you date, Matt Vickers, would you date a Green?
No, and definitely not a vegan either. They're not my cup of tea, I don't think. But I don't think they'd want to date me. So
No.
I think we're all right on that front.
There we go. Listen, great to have you on. Loads in the news today. I want to start, though, with a story that is politically like a... I don't know. To me, it's like a hand grenade. Labour confirming, Matty, that it's postponing 4 of next year's mayoral elections until 2028. Those authorities, Essex, Hampshire and the Solent, Sussex and Brighton and Norfolk and Sussex, they've done this before, pushing the polls back 2 years. This is massively undemocratic, is it not, my friend?
This is Keir Starmer running scared. It's just the wrong thing to do. If we think that the role of these mayors makes a meaningful difference to their communities, then we need to be getting on with it. We've got 4 fantastic candidates lined up. We're ready for the fight. We know the difference that these guys can make if we get them elected. We're ready to get on with it. I mean, if you'd been running this government into the ground, as this government has been, if you'd seen that sham of a budget last week, if you saw those people queuing up now on the unemployment line, then you probably wouldn't want the elections if you were Keir Starmer. But it's time to get on with the job. We need to have these elections. We need to get those mayors in place so they can get on with making a difference to the communities they serve.
Is it not true as well to say, and we talked about it the other day when you were in, that if you continue to disrespect the British voter, however that voter decides to vote in the next election, on mayoral or local or whatever, you really do run a risk of almost destroying, again, the fabric of our democracy. I think this government is probably the worst in my lifetime for taking the British people for, well, very little, just showing very little respect or belief in or interest in their opinions.
As we said the other day, I mean, we're being held captive by this government at the minute. We're seeing the lies. We saw what was said about the budget, the fact that then she was called out by the OBR for lying to the public, saying there was a black hole there that never existed. And then what happens? The guy who called her out on it's now gone. The chairman of the OBR is now gone, coincidentally, shortly after he called her out. We are being held captive by this government. They know how much of a mess they're making. It's a disaster for everybody involved. We need these mayors in place so they can get on with making the difference. We know the difference that Ben Houchin's making up in Teesside, creating jobs, saving our airport, getting stuff done. We need more mayors like Ben Houchin across the country. We need to get on with these elections and get those people in place.
Matty, you're the busiest man in the Tory party, shadow crime, policing and fire. I want to talk about something that's really got people going this morning, because I don't understand this. East Crowborough in Sussex is the site of a famous training camp where our cadets who have signed up for Queen but now King and Country have been trained since the Second World War, 80 years. We know in the news that some weeks ago it was announced that 600 illegal migrants, they call them asylum seekers, who are waiting to be processed by a system that doesn't work, are going to be housed there, and British soldiers are going to be told to do one. This morning, confirming teenage cadets, I mean, to me, I can't even begin to say this too often, teenage cadets have been ordered by Healy and the Defence staff to leave their training camp to make way for those 600 small boat migrants. And Defence Chiefs Matt Vickers have admitted that they have to go because it's not safe for them to say. What the hell does that say to the people of East Crowborough?
I mean, everything, when it comes to immigration, this government is getting it completely wrong. However many mistakes were made by the last government, the reality is it's got worse. Not just a bit worse, much, much worse. The number of people arriving in the country up 55%. The number in hotels is up. It was falling under the last government. It virtually halved. The number of people arriving in the country on those small boats and being removed is down. More coming in, more in hotels, less than being sent home. And that's just a recipe for disaster. The reality is, we saw that place actually in Scotland, just opposite side of the road to the accommodation that we put the families of our servicemen in. It is completely wrong. It is irrational. It is erratic. It's absolutely ridiculous. The only way to solve this problem, everybody at home knows it, is common sense, is if you tell people that when they arrive in the country, they will be removed, they will stop coming. We've got to reduce the benefits. We've got to put less pull factors on these people. But moreover, if you break into this country, you should be sent home. The only way to solve
But that's the point. They're sitting here this morning going, well, I mean, should they be put there? They shouldn't be allowed here in the first place. The other big news story, love your take on this, pal. I know it's cold. Coffee in a minute. Health Secretary Wes Streeting today ordering that independent review into the overdiagnosis of mental health conditions like ADHD. I think we're label obsessed. Of course, when you say that, the genuine people start worrying, but they shouldn't. It's like the genuinely disabled. That's what the system's for. And this appalling story, Matthew, that A&E last year saw 200,000 people who pitched up at A&E and went, I've got an ingrowing toenail. Now, we've had a doctor saying, well, that could be cancer of the toe. But the reality is we've got people who are taking the mickey out of the system, and that's why it's creaking, isn't it?
There are 4 reasons why tax goes up significantly in this country. One is if we have a war, the other is if we have a pandemic, the other is if we have an economic crash. Or, more likely than all of those to put up your taxes, is a Labour government. They put people out of work, they increase the benefits, they are the welfare party. There's only one party that's put forward a real costed opportunity to reduce those benefits by £23 billion. We've said we should be reducing them by £23 billion. We said we should be upholding that 2-child cap. Last week, we saw Rachel Reeves in there, slammed everybody at home. All those people who are going out, getting up early this morning to go to work, are paying record levels of tax because she's decided to spend £16 billion more on benefits. It's a Mickey take. It is a wee-wee take. You cannot keep taxing people and doling out benefits. There has to be a reason for people to get out of bed and go to work and earn a keep.
I couldn't agree more. I really couldn't agree more. And just finally, because you are cold and you definitely need to get indoors, before we head to a break, right? Yesterday there was this story on the front of the FT about Nigel Farage has allegedly told a couple of donors that he wants to do a merger. He immediately tweets, that's not happening. We had Robert Jenrick on saying, Kemi says no and he says no. Genuine question. If you, as an MP and a staunch Tory, in 2.5 years' time, the polls were exactly the same, and there was a strong belief that this appalling government would side with that appalling Green bloke and that even more hideous human being that runs the Liberal Democrats and force upon us another 5 years of hell. Would it not be your right or your duty, all of you, to do something to ensure on the right that this never happens?
I think the reality is there is a big dividing line there. There's a big dividing line on the economy. This economy is being ran off a cliff. We're seeing more people on benefits, more people pushed out of work and unemployed because of the handling of our economy. It's the Conservatives who come in and clean up that mess, and part of that is about economic responsibility. That's the separation here. Every other party is telling you we should remove that 2-child cap, we should spend more on benefits. The Conservatives are saying the opposite. It's time to cut welfare so that people live within their means, and those people who work hard and do the right thing are looked after properly. Yes, the welfare system should be there as a safety net. It should not be an opportunity or a choice for people. We need to be fairer on those who pay their taxes. That's the dividing line between us and reform. We won't go nationalising everything. We won't be doling out more in benefits. And we believe in keeping that 2-child cap in place. When my mate Ticey over there turns up on this screen, I hope you can ask him about that 2-child cap.
Hey, listen, mate, we love having you on. We'll see you next week for the paper review. Thank you, Matt Vickers, on the round, Deputy Chairman of the Conservative Party. 18 minutes to 8. We'll go to Bolton. Gareth, good morning. Just a couple of minutes. What you got, pal?
Morning, Jez. I'm part of Alarm for Clock Britain. I'm up at 5:30 every morning, and I've worked almost every day of my life since I was 13. But my youngest son, who's 31, he was diagnosed as having ADHD and autism and behavioural problems from a very, 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 very early age. And it was actually the school that forced us to get a diagnosis of what was up with him. And it wasn't so that we could claim benefits. It was so the school could claim more funding for special needs assistant for him. And we had a special needs assistant from the moment he got to school to the moment he come out of it. But he also got a bit of support coming out of school, and he's now held down a job with Aldi for the last 7 years, and he gets up at 3 o'clock in the morning. He walks to work. He walks 2 miles to work, and he walks 2 miles back. And we've never had any benefits for him whatsoever. I think it's lazy parenting that just people want to put a label on something and say, yeah,
And the brilliance of your call, Gareth, is that whenever we have this argument head on, people genuinely get scared and come on and they go, well, you're talking about me. No. What I'm saying is, I'm really happy as you are to do everything I can to help people who can't help themselves, but I am sick to the back teeth of doing what we all do for people who are gaming the system. It is disrespectful to the genuinely mentally ill, the genuinely disabled, the genuinely I can't work, that we have hundreds of thousands of people in this country taking advantage. Respect to you and your son, Gareth and Bolton. Thank you. We'll go to an ad break. Steve, good morning.
Morning, Jeremy. This is Stephen Hartz. Sometimes the cadets use actual proper army rifles and live ammunition when they're doing their little exercises and range days and so on. So if those men have to be in Crowborough, I wouldn't want there to any opportunity for them to be getting their hands on guns. So yeah, best thing is to keep the cadets and their rifles well away. Rather they weren't in Crowborough at all, of course, rather they were back where they come from, but there you go.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
She certainly is. Julia here from 10 o'clock, Ian Collins from 1, and Alex Phillips standing great on drive time this afternoon from 4 o'clock, 13 minutes to 8. I've been waiting all morning. Usually she comes in at 6, but she's very important and busy now. A very good morning to the assistant comment editor of The Telegraph, Poppy Coburn. Hello.
Good morning.
What happened to our early morning moments then this week? Are you all right?
I had a chest infection. You can probably hear it in my voice still. It's the season of everyone getting really ill, so I wasn't able to make it.
Bless your heart. I hope you feel better. I missed the directness of you. I'm going to throw it all at you in 10 minutes. Wes Streeting, his review independently announced today into the overdiagnosis of mental health problems. I think we label people too much, but then you run the risk, Pops, of people saying, oh, you're being unfair to the genuine. No, I'm not. I'm saying let's concentrate our care and our money on the people who are genuinely ill.
Yeah, I mean, completely. It is a massive problem. And you see this on the younger end of the scale. We've got half the people in a classroom claiming that they've got a mental health condition and therefore they need special provisions. So, I mean, I'm very close to this issue for two reasons. One, I've got two cousins that have autism. One has very severe autism. He obviously needs the support. He goes to a special school. He's getting round-the-clock care, as he completely needs to get. And the other one is that my mum works in safeguarding in a school, so she deals with a lot of children who claim to have mental health conditions. And there's two separate things here. There's one that we've always understood, maybe you have severe autism, schizophrenia, psychosis, everyone would say those people need help, they need support, they need medication possibly. And then there's the other side of people who I think unfortunately have taken mental illness as being part of the kind of identity coalition thing. And so see mental suffering, or what they perceive to be mental suffering, as part of who they are, and they don't actually want to get better from it. And I think what Wes is trying to deal with at the moment now is the explosion in young people and people who are slightly older as well, who are claiming to have a mental health condition and not being able to live with it. Not saying that they can live with it and getting on with it, as many people have to do, but saying that they can't deal with normal work, or they need more money, or they need more provisions. And that's really unfair to those who really can't live without that support, because what it does is it takes from that limited pot of money and it makes the public slightly fed up with the amount of money that we're spending on these things. So I think he's absolutely right to crack down on it.
You see, in 2 minutes you've put it more eruditely than I've been trying all bleeding morning. What's your response to the I mean, this is shocking. A&E under siege last winter, Poppy, 200,000 cases of genuine Brits. Well, I say genuinely, Brits going into an A&E department. Many of them will say, oh, it's because I can't see a GP. Others, I just think, need to switch on a bit. Cases, really violently worrying cases, like I've got hiccups, a snotty nose, and I've got an ingrowing toenail. Seriously?
I think it's the Isle of Guernsey that does this, where they make you pay to go into A&E depending on the time you go in.
Yes,
now, I understand that if you go in and you've accidentally chopped your thumb off, the last thing you want to do is look for your credit card. But the reason why I think it's a good idea is precisely because so many people use A&E, and sometimes it's not their fault because people can't see a GP, right? So the only way you can actually get medical care is to go to A&E. That's something that needs to be fixed. But there are a lot of people that genuinely turn up to A&E and say, I've got a headache, can I have some paracetamol? I know that because I've heard it. I literally heard it.
No, it's
I
true.
A&E over summer, and there was a man in front of me that said, I need some paracetamol, and I was there at about 4 a.m. and I was like, what on earth are you doing?
And I'm going to tell you something else I know.
Thousands of people that do that.
I'm going to tell you something else. I've got a mate whose wife works in A&E. You'll all think this is irrelevant. I don't think it's irrelevant at all. She will tell us categorically that that man in front of you will be given 2 paracetamol, right, from a box of 60, and the remaining 58 will be thrown away for cleanliness or whatever their damn issue is. That is an absolute fact from a nurse who works in A&E. We sit here and we talk about, you know, the excesses and DEI and all that, but I guess my point, which hasn't been massively popular, is we do also have to take responsibility as human beings to stop relying on the bleeding state and do what's right, don't we, to a degree?
Yeah, I think that's unfortunately what's changed culturally in this country. Like, we always used to be people that would kind of just get on with things and what was it, you know, stiff upper lip, don't complain. And now I think, unfortunately, we've become like the Americans, you know, where everything needs to be made a massive deal out of. And again, I don't think these institutions can survive. I like that you could go to A&E for free, but when so many people are abusing that system and are going when they don't need to go, and our politicians seem completely unwilling to make reforms, then we're not going to be able to have it by the time my children are born. You can't sustain these systems because they no longer reflect a culture that we once had. You know, I don't think we're the same country anymore, unfortunately.
No. Light the touch paper and stand back. What's your response to Labour this morning announcing and confirming what we all knew was going to happen, which is they're postponing 4 mayor elections next year? Essex, Hampshire and Solent, Sussex and Brighton, Norfolk and Suffolk. Those are going back 2 years. People are up in arms about this. Democracy under siege. What's your take on this? They're running scared, aren't they? Terrified.
Oh, well, what's the thing that all those 4 places have in common? They're not voting for Labour. I mean, it's the same thing with the local council elections, and they tried to postpone those as well. And everyone made a big deal out of it. I mean, look, we all know the real reason for this. They're saying they're not ready. I'm not sure how that makes them sound any better. But it's clearly because they know they're going to lose, and they're going to lose really, really badly. So, yeah, I think the Tories, they came out last night and they said it's an absolute disgrace, you know, it's an affront to democracy. And to be honest with you, it is. A lot of people are really, really, really angry with the government at the moment. They still have this massive parliamentary majority. So there are very few ways that you can express that anger you have towards Keir Starmer until you wait for, I guess, the May elections next year, or obviously the general election, whenever that comes. I think people want the opportunity to pick their own leaders and to kind of say a bit like up yours to the government in the meantime. And the fact that the government is so frightened of the electorate that it's having to postpone mayoral elections, which aren't that significant in the grand scheme of things, but it's more about the mood of the country. You know, if they perform so badly, it's yet another sign that people are fed up with Labour and want new leadership.
What did you make yesterday of the rumours? I sadly couldn't have you on, but at the start of the day we're like, you know, Nigel's spoken to some donors, could be a merger. He tweets that's a load of old tosh. Kemi's saying no, Nigel's saying no. I just put to Matt Vickers and I put to you. If we get 2 years down the line and the Tories are on 15 and Reform are on 30, but we know that the mad Labour government would side with the madder Zach Polanski, the even madder your party. I know it's not your party or my party, but they're called your party. And possibly that idiot Ed Davey. Do you not think the right needs to do what's right for the stake of this country? Do you think that could ever happen?
I think if there's a progressive alliance, as you just laid out, which is obviously Labour, the Lib Dems, the Greens,
progressive,
together.
Progressive.
Yeah, well, quite. Well, that's what they call it. That's what they call it. They call it progressive alliance. Yeah. It sounds like a Marvel superhero, the worst one you can think of, Mr. Taximore. But I think you'd have to see the right clubbing together. I mean, I think Reform would rather be in power with a small group of Tories, because I don't think the entire Conservative Party would join. I think if the choice was put to Conservative MPs, either merge with Reform or you're not in power, you're not going to be in government, I think a lot of people would go join the Lib Dems, to be frank. A lot of them just can't stand Reform, don't like Nigel Farage, and they wouldn't do it. But yeah, if that's what it took to get Nigel Farage into number 10, I think what happened. I understand why at the moment they're not saying that, though. They're saying absolutely not, this is our red line, because obviously they don't want that to happen. They want to get higher up in the polls. They want to be able to win a majority. But because Keir Starmer's got such a massive super majority in the first place, it's going to be really, really hard for them to do so. They have to capture over 300 seats. You know, I know they're polling very well, but that is a very, very, very big swing.
I thought it was interesting, quickly. I thought the timing was interesting. Nigel denied it and all of that. I get that. It could have been a call to the genuine people to go, you know, I need you. More than that, it could have been to the electorate. We need a little bit more of a push. But I think it's fascinating, really. I think politically, the next few months and years are going to be fascinating. I do hope you get better over the weekend and hope to see you early next week, yes?
Yes, absolutely. I'll be in.
All right. Look after yourself. Poppy Coburn, brilliant. Assistant comment editor of The Telegraph. What is it? 5 minutes to 8. 0344 499 1000. Text to 87222. This is Morning Glory on Talk.
The Talk app. You can watch, catch up and listen to all your favourite shows and podcasts anytime, anywhere, all on the Talk app. Watching and listening to Talk just got easier. There's now only one place for the home of common sense. So head over to your App Store or Google Play and search Talk now.
Across the UK. On DAB+. On YouTube. On your mobile. And on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. So the news at 8 on the way. Yesterday, Harvey sent us a voice note because he considers himself some sort of genius in terms of singing. I wasn't that impressed and I wanted more creative input. Morning, Harvey.
Morning, Jezza. Harvey from Emma Hempstead. Kiss Thomas of Wally. Well, I've got a question. Why are the migrants being housed in army and cadet bases? I just want an answer. Why?
Creatively wasn't meant your mate going boom, 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 but Harvey would take the point. No mistake, Surrey and Duncan Smith starts the next down. News at 8 is next on Talk.
Across the UK. On DAB+. On YouTube. On your mobile. And on your side. This is Talk.
A very good morning to you. Welcome to, what is it, Thursday the 4th of December. So much going on. Thank you for tuning in. Alarm clock Brits have been at it since 6. Whatever you're doing, on the way to work, on the way back from the night shift, on the school run, take us with you. The brand new Talk app. Download it right now because, honestly, you can take us with you. You don't have to sit at home. It's the thing that everybody's downloading. So Talk app, do that. Thank you very much indeed. It's where the nation comes to talk. You're waking up to lots of stories. That news you heard, the Health Secretary Wes Streeting, a review into the overdiagnosis of mental health conditions like ADHD. Of course, genuine people are going, that's not fair. But it is, because there are people gaming the system and taking money away from you. A&E last year, 200,000 cases in the winter. I've got an ingrowing toenail. Get a grip, for goodness sake, man. News today, news today, you'll have heard about East Crowborough in Sussex and the Pink Ladies fighting an important fight against The imposition of 600 illegal migrants being moved into a training base that's been used for years. Today, confirmation from the Defence... You won't believe what I'm going to tell you. The Defence Department have ordered teenage cadets who've been trained there for 80 years to leave their training camp in the next however many hours to make way for those small boat migrants because, this is what the Defence chiefs have said, it's not safe. Right, so it's not safe for cadets. What about the people of East Crowborough then? Yet again, another example of how we seem to favour people who shouldn't be in this country. Your thoughts on that and the other, 87222, voice notes as well, and Labour. Talk about this. Labour postponing 4 mayoral elections that were due next year a further 2 years. It is blatantly obvious that Starmer and his uneducated cronies are out of their depth and scared of the British public, isn't it, Brian?
Morning, JK. Brian from Southend here. On this government postponing the May by-elections once again, I want to know how they can do this. How they can do this without any say-so from Parliament, from the House of Lords, the Commons, whatever. How can they just get away with this? All through their government so far. They've got away with situations, telling the Chagos Islands, you know, cancelling this, cancelling that, doing this, doing that, without any consultation with government at all. You know, previous governments, the Conservatives couldn't do anything without a challenge by whatever. Why can't other government or other parties challenge these bloody Labour Party? Because they're just riding roughshod over everyone. It's a disgrace. Bloody absolutely disgraceful.
I think many people in Britain would agree with Brian. I'd love to get the take now. Former Conservative Party leader, Tory MP for Chingford and Woodford Green, Serene Duncan Smith. Morning, Serene. You respond, because I think that's a really good question by Brian. How can this government ride roughshod over the electorate's needs, wants, desires and rights?
Well, they're abusing their majority in Parliament. They're making arbitrary decisions as though they had a sort of right to dictatorship here in the UK. I've noticed that trend everywhere. Their deceit over the Chagos Islands deal, which we're now uncovering bit by bit, their attempt to ram it through at speed without hardly any debate at all. They gave no rationale or reasoning behind it. And this is as well. I mean, the idea that they have to delay these elections for 2 years because they've got things to do and to change them, and then they try and sweeten the pill by saying there may be more money. It's like treating us like children. If you're good, there may be just a little bit of money for you. Well, it shouldn't rub. And I'm certain that my lot will oppose it. And I would think almost everybody else would oppose it too, because it's anti-democratic. You can't just interfere and then cancel things. And you can't also, just upsetting those who want to vote just simply because you've got some idea that you need to make change. Get on with it, make the change, whatever it is, put it to Parliament, but don't, for God's sake, stop elections. They're the lifeblood of who we are and what we do. And local elections are important as national elections too.
It's interesting for me because, I sit and watch this unfold in the mornings and the same thing comes back to me in every single day. Increasingly, this government, in fact, MPs, not all MPs, but so many politicians, fundamentally to me seem to forget the most important thing, which is that they have a job because they've been elected by the British people. I would love to be actually I wouldn't want to be anywhere near Starmer and his cronies, but one wonders what common sense, if any, there is. There's somebody not leaning forward going, mate, in those 4 constituencies, you're screwing yourself even more. You are denying, as I thought the phrase I used was right, the British people their right. You are telling people that you're scared of their reaction.
If there's some kind of technical issue here or some peculiarity, then why don't they bring it forward in the House of Commons and say, we may need to look at this, it may need a delay, we'll take the opinion and the view of parliamentarians from that area and others before we even start thinking about a solution. They didn't do that, and they don't do this at all. They really, because they've got this ridiculous majority gain, by the way, on 33% of the poll, it's only because of the collapse on the right of politics that they're there at all. And the reality, therefore, is they didn't get a mandate to dictatorship. They got a mandate to govern. Govern is also about consultation. And they need to come back to the House of Commons and talk about why they have such a drastic problem And if we don't agree with it, they should back off. And the truth is, people could work round the clock to sort out any technical problems. Why aren't they doing it now? Why haven't they been doing it if they know there's a problem? If there's any other problem, tell us what it is. Otherwise, it begins to look a little bit like gerrymandering the electoral process.
Completely. Before I talk about the situation in East Crowborough with you, you talked about how they got in with 33% of the vote in the last election, Serena. You talked about the collapse of the right. Yesterday, we woke up to that front page in the FT about Farage had allegedly sort of mentioned to donors that there would be a need to have some sort of agreement/alliance. He came out and tweeted and said no. Richard Tice came on and said no. Kemi Badenoch said no. I asked the excellent person who was on just earlier, and it's completely gone from my mind. What, Matt Vickers? Matt Vickers, there's people everywhere. And I want to ask you, as the ex-leader of the Conservative Party, because you said then collapse of the right. Imagine a scenario 2 years down the line. I know it's important that parties stick their necks out and say what they say, but if we do face, as a country, with everything we've been through for the last 15 months, if we do face this sort of revolting alliance of the idiots in the Green Party and the Your Party and the Liberal Democrats and Labour, would the right actually not owe it to the British people, democratically, to get their heads together for the sake of saving us from more of this hell? Do you think that at some point would have to be or might have to be a conversation that had to be had?
Well, all these things are part of politics, and the reason we have a democracy is people look at the challenges, they talk to each other, and cooperation takes place even in the House of Commons on a daily basis. Lots of parties are in the same lobbies in opposition to things. The truth is, the whole of the left, I think, at the moment is fracturing. In the sense that there are going to be four, maybe even, your party is either, I don't think it's even one party, I think it's two parties.
It's not my party.
Well, your party, Jeremy Corbyn's party, no longer seems to be one party, it seems to be two parties sharing a space in a hall somewhere. But the reality is, though, I think rushing to these things is never a good idea, whatever happens. We need to see what the British public really are concerned about, and we need to deal with their concerns. We made some mistakes under the last Conservative government. They're mistakes that have cost us dear, but learning from those mistakes is important, and demonstrating to the British public that we got it. We know what we did wrong. We know what we should do. You'll be fed up with this lot because they are going to govern for a very minority of the country and shuffle money down their throats to try and keep them voting for them. By the way, that's what happened under the last Blairite government, was that they used to up the amount they gave to child tax credits a year or so before an election, then would come out saying Tories will take it away from you. So all these disasters they're about to impose on us, and the biggest is by Labour, the welfare spending now, which is going to go up by 16 million in this part of the Parliament, but it will rise by the end of the Parliament, believe it or not, by 91 billion pounds a year, which is taxpayers' money. So those who argue on what I call free markets conservatism do and will bring their ideas together and will cooperate with each other. How far that goes, I can't argue, and I think speculating about the future is difficult when I don't know what's going to happen 1 week ahead. So politics is always best about deal with what's in front of you and let the cards fall.
A bit like this show. Let me ask you about something that's really, really annoyed so many people who are listening and watching today. We know by now the story about Crowborough in East Sussex, the military base that's been used as a training base, Syrian, for the last 80 years since the end of World War II. Teenage cadets trained there regularly. The ladies, the community came out and said, we don't want 600, small boat unvetted migrants coming to our town. Worse still, there are dangers. This is an extraordinary announcement today. Teenage cadets have been ordered by the defence chiefs, ordered to leave this camp in the next few hours to not only make way for those 600 small boat migrants, but when pressed, those defence chiefs, Ian, have admitted it won't be safe for the cadets. And at the risk of being a bit basic here, so we're worried about the cadets, but sod the local community, yeah?
Yeah, I'm afraid this is getting from bad to worse, really. The government, when they came in, immediately got rid of the Rwanda scheme, which was going to send people who shouldn't have been here, who came illegally, over there for their vetting processes as they do, but they're not in the UK. That deal they scrapped immediately, and I said at the time, I said, why do you want to scrap that deal? You will find that there's no other way to sort this out but to get people out of the country double fast instead of looking after them here in the UK. And they said, oh, no, we know what we're doing. Well, they don't, because now what's happening is the numbers have been going up still, and their problem is, where do we put them? They know the public don't want them in these little hotels around the country, because without controls and spending huge sums of money sending them all over the country in taxis. So what do? They decide, oh, we'll use some of the army bases, because defence of the realm isn't as important as dealing with migrant needs and wants. Well, I have a point to make to them, which is, having served in the army, I can tell you now, defence of the realm is the #1 thing the government is meant to do. And yet, by moving them out of the hotels and into army camps, it doesn't solve any problem at all. It just pushes it somewhere else to some other community. The answer is, what you have to do is say to the courts, we are going to have to deal with the Convention of Human Rights and start shipping these people away, out, abroad, away from the UK, which they came to illegally. And until we grasp that nettle, this is going to be where they're... So it's camps today. Where's it going to be later on? Bond Street? Into those shops? Saying, listen, we're going to take those. The whole thing is irrational.
It's irrational, and it makes a mockery. And you served in the army, and it's something that I'm so strong on, and I'll say it every single day. So forget the cadets. It's not safe for you go. I am beyond embarrassed when I see veterans, okay, who have put their names and their necks on the line for my liberty and my country being on the streets, and we're allowing these people. And people jump up and down and go, oh, but we need to welcome refugees. What about the people who fought for this country? What about those people? I think it's outrageous. And I it's not safe for cadets. Well, let's forget the kids in schools and the women on the streets. Let's also talk about that veteran I see every Saturday sat there going, Jez, I did 14 years and I'm on the streets because they've thrown me out for migrants. I think that is an absolute stain on our society, Sir Ian. I think it's disgusting.
I agree with you. I agree. And I think this is why the government has lost the plot. And now, of course, as you hear, they're trying to get rid of jury trials.
Yeah.
I mean, we are in a sort of... Listen, I had lots of differences with the Blair government all the way down the line. But the one thing I would never have accused them of being certifiably stupid. But I do begin to wonder whether this government isn't. I mean, take this issue about the health department investigating this idea about mental health problems being a huge draw on benefits.
Yes.
We argued about that for years and years and years, and we put forward at the Centre for Social Justice a whole plan how you deal with it. You know, the trick is, we already know that we've over-medicalised normal ups and downs of daily life. That is our problem. You can't just be a little bit depressed about something. Now you have to be medically depressed. You can't be suffer from anxiety. You have to be suffering from a medical form of anxiety. So immediately you go into the GP's office, they will have to sign you off because they don't know how to define whether you're...
If you see one, if you can see one.
And then what happens is they go on to benefit. And the benefit bill has been soaring. We argued and gave forward to the government earlier in the year a plan which is to say, don't pay people who come into the doctor's surgery saying I'm depressed or I'm suffering from anxiety. We know that work is the best medical solution to any form of depression or anxiety. So don't give them the money like that. Use some of that money to give them help and support, but under the condition that they now start seeking work.
Yep.
And that the DWP will help them find that work. That will save, we reckon, anything between £7-9 billion. And what's really important about it is we want them back in work. We don't, the longer they sit at home suffering from what they call depression or anxiety, the worse that gets, by the way. Then they get other illnesses and sicknesses. Then they become really certifiably dangerously ill. You want them back in work, and the health department has already said work is the best treatment for depression, anxiety, or even, in many cases, ADHD. So this doesn't need to be looked into desperately because we know what the problem is. The answer is it shouldn't be a major medical problem. The problem is get them back into work, give them something to do, and they will forget about their depression and anxiety. That's what the doctors know. That's what we should know, and stop paying benefit to people who have medicalised a condition that, goodness gracious, you will have suffered from, I will have suffered from, everybody will have suffered on their working.
I think what look, there's a message here that I sort of want to read, but I mean, look, I have to, because that's the nature of what I do. There are concerns when you and I would talk like that, just hear me out, that people who are genuinely in need think that we're labelling, and we're not, because here's what I'm going to say. I will pay my tax and I will do everything for those people who are mentally ill, physically disabled and unable to work. But what those people have to know is we have to have this debate, because the people who are gaming the damn system, OK, are taking money away. Zoe in Lancashire, you'll identify with this. Some people will go, wow, she went, Jez, when I were a kid in the 80s, no such thing as ADHD. We just had a smack or a beating sent to our room, no tea, told to behave, get up in the morning, get on with your life. Nowadays, we're, oh my God. But actually, we've become soft and we've become reliant. And it's like this story in today about 200,000 people pitching up at A&E saying, I've got ingrowing toenails or a sore throat. We have to take a little bit of responsibility ourselves, don't we?
Yeah, yes, this is the whole point. You know, I ran the benefit system for a while, and we had, when I finished, the lowest number of workless households since records began. Over 1,600 people have been out of work, we're going into work every single day, and with a benefits bill, came down by some 30 billion a year. And that was simply dealing with these areas where we have too much been driven by the idea of rights. The key question here is, what's the problem? If the problem is that people are depressed, and by the way, I remember a wonderful charity called Tomorrow's People. Now, they did a deal with a surgery in East London once, and what they said was, look, instead of signing them off, we'll go into the other surgery room and send them to us. And they work to help them get back into work.
Absolutely.
And that surgery's antidepressant bill fell by 60% in the course of the following year. Why? Because instead of saying, here's some medication, go home and sit and get worse, what they did was they said, let's find you a job. Getting them a job
motivation
boosted their morale, got them out, and no longer were they depressed. Lots of reasons why people get depressed, but the one thing is be busy. Get on with your life, do things, take decisions. And that's what the health department actually knows and believes, which is work is the best medical treatment for depression or anxiety. So what we should be doing here, we know what the problem is. What the solution is say, no, your prescription is going to be work.
I couldn't agree more.
We'll work with you to get you into work, gainful employment, working at a charity, get up in the morning early, go to work.
Get something on the CV, give something back, get motivated, everybody's happy. Ian, so good to have you on. We love having you on the show. Thank you so much indeed. Have you on again soon. Sir Ian Duncan-Smith, former Conservative Party leader, 8:21. We're live across the UK. It's where the nation comes to talk. Felix, new caller in Portsmouth. Welcome to Morning Glory. What you got?
Good morning, Jeremy. I hope you understand my broken English because I'm an immigrant, a legal one. My point is I have an utmost respect for everything that the NHS is doing, everything that they've done during the pandemic and the pressure they're constantly day in, day out. However, I think there are some pen pushers or bean counters or whomever, might there be, that are literally draining the system.
Yeah.
I heard the other day a conversation on this wonderful station in which a lady doctor was complaining that not too much money are put on in the training or compensating the frontline staff. Well, this is an example that I can vouch for. I mean, it can be seen, I think, even on Google Maps. In Southsea, which is the southern part of Portsmouth, there is a carpool base for NHS people. May they be doctors, nurses, whatever. Well, that car park is full of brand new, can I mention the name?
Yeah, what cars?
It's Cupras. If you look on Auto Trader, a brand new 25 reg Cupra starts from 25,000. Now, I don't
and
know
there's a carpool full of brand news of these with a dedicated valet. What are they for?
Well, the carpool for NHS stuff. So that's supposed to be like 3 people. We have the QA hospital, Queen Alexandra Hospital, which is about 5 miles from that car park. Presumably, there are 4 or 5 people jumping in one car, going to work to QA, and then in the evening coming back, dropping off the car, and so on and so forth.
Felix, I have to be careful because then I'll implode. Do you, a legal migrant who's come to this country and embraced and worked and paid your tax, I haven't got a lot of time, but do you think we have become so soft on so many things, whether it's migration, the NHS, benefits, whatever? Do you not think we are now laughable?
Not laughable. Jeremy, this is a country with a great history, with great past, and hopefully, and God help us all, with a great future.
But not unless we toughen up, Felix.
Yes, no. From a legal migrant who's got a settled status as well, I can say yes. I'm sorry, it's horrible, but the migration is a problem.
Couldn't agree more. Felix, lovely to have you on from Portsmouth. 8:25 to the break. Morning, Ben.
Morning, Jez. Ben from Birmingham. Great show as always. So I'm halfway through my fourth of 5 14-hour shifts for the week, which I do every week. Last night, my paperwork for my Christmas bonus, which I'll be getting next Saturday, £2,500, which I've worked all year for, which is fantastic. Except the government are taking £1,150 of it off me in tax to pay for Benefits Britain. I love getting up at 10:15 every night, leaving my wife in bed to go and graft all night on my own to give half of my wages to people that shouldn't even be in this country or that just can't be asked to get up because they've got the latest version of Call of Duty to play. Keep up the great work.
The Talk app. You can watch, catch up and listen to all your favourite shows and podcasts anytime, anywhere, all on the Talk app. Watching and listening to Talk just got easier. There's now only one place for the home of common sense. So head over to your App Store or Google Play and search Talk now.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Good morning, my friends. Almost 8:30. We're live across the UK. This is where the nation comes to talk, the home of common sense talk. JK at the controls, 0344 well, I'm not, actually, to be honest, Marcus. 0344 499 1000, text to 87222. Loads you're waking up to, and a look at, how mental health conditions are being overdiagnosed, how hospitals are being completely overrun by people going there with really worrying conditions like a migraine or an ingrowing toenail. Labour under fire this morning for cancelling mayoral elections, and East Crowborough and Sussex awaiting the 600 illegal migrants unvetted who are going to take over a training camp. The cadets have left because the Defence Secretary said it's not safe. Brilliant. Morning, Jane.
Morning, JK. I spent 13 hours with my dad in A&E last Friday. We called an ambulance at 8:45. They came within half an hour because it was a suspected stroke. In that time, I witnessed at least 70 people sat in A&E waiting for a doctor. 2:30, we'd seen nobody, not a nurse, doctor, anybody to not even assess him or take his blood pressure. By 4 o'clock in the morning, we'd seen nobody again. At 4:45, we saw a doctor who did a scan, said everything was okay, and we could go home. So at 9 o'clock in the morning, 12 hours, 13 hours after getting the initial ambulance, we went home. Yeah, the NHS is on its knees, definitely on its knees.
I don't understand how it can continue. Listen to John in Christchurch. My daughter works in the NHS. She says that regular visitors to A&E are called frequent flyers. They have such rubbish lives that a day in hospital is actually good. Katie says regarding paying Jez for A&E visits, all that would happen is that those in the receipt of welfare would be exempt, as with prescriptions. The government would say that a universal charge for treatment would unfairly impact on those most in need. At the end, the only people who would end up having to pay for it would be alarm clock Brits. Good morning to Wendy. I'm a disabled lady. I have had a real pain in my leg for weeks, so I asked for an appointment. I've got one in about 6 weeks' time. I honestly, John's in Bexley Heath. Hello, John. I'm 65 now. 5 years ago, I lost the sight in my right eye whilst driving. Cured now. My doctor advised me to go straight to A&E. She thought it was a brain tumour. It wasn't. The waiting area was like a meeting place for the local drunks and druggies. They all knew each other. It took flipping hours. Good morning to Verena from Kent. I had a sore throat and lost my voice for 2 months. Tried to see the GP and got, we cannot see you, go to A&E. I obviously didn't go to A&E. I went to the chemist and got some throat lozenges. Jesus, my life's mad. Anyway, talking about A&E, appalling story overnight. Meghan Markle's father, Thomas, who she's estranged from, in fact, she's estranged from every member of her family, that probably tells you something about her, is in the Philippines, in intensive care in a hospital, allegedly, according to his son, fighting for his life. She decided that the way to show respect to her father was to put out, I can't even be bothered to play out this nauseating video of Harry laughing, right? Her father's rushed to hospital. She puts that out. We say good morning. I love this man. Rafe Heidelman-Koo, a very good morning, sir. How are you?
Very good, Jeremy. Always good to be with you.
Meghan Markle, let's just let's move away from A&E departments and mayoral elections. Man to man, what do you make of this odious creature?
Well, I think odious is exactly the word for it. The Duchess of Duplicity. Listen, when the clue was there on the wedding day, if you only have one member of your family attending your wedding, and it has to be your father-in-law who takes you down the aisle, and then a year later, your husband doesn't speak to his family either, I think that should have set alarm bells ringing for Prince Harry. I mean, it was obvious from the outset that Meghan is a grifter, a social climber, somebody who simply wanted to use a prince to elevate her up to the A-list so she can rub shoulders with Serena Williams and, Gwyneth Paltrow and all these characters, inviting people like Oprah Winfrey and George Clooney to her wedding, even though they'd never ever met the woman in their lives. The calculation here was clear, and she's got what she wanted. And poor Harry is now left in California. All he knows how to do is be a prince, play polo, and be a soldier, none of which come in much use in the Los Angeles type set that Meghan moves in. All she cares about all along is herself. And here again we have yet another example, because if Meghan does not rush to her father's bedside, potentially, of course, his deathbed, at this critical time, when we're told his life is potentially in imminent danger, I would hope it would reveal the true nature of Meghan to those, those deluded people who don't already know her for what she is.
Are you telling me there are people in this world who don't see straight through the Duchess of Duplicity? Because, I think there's quite a famous occasion. My friend and colleague Piers Morgan dared to call her a liar, which she is, and lost his job over it. I find it extraordinary to believe. Listen, if you ask me why I can't do it on the radio, he's whipped, and I won't use the first word. That's obviously patently what happened. But the truth of the matter is, anybody with a brain cell can see that this woman has no respect for her family, no respect for the royal family, no respect for her husband. I said this 5 years ago on Censured. He will be back in the United Kingdom with his ginger tail between his legs. I promise you this. And 2 kids being brought up in California. She would do anything for a fast buck. I think she's a disgrace. I have absolutely no idea why they are not stripped of absolutely everything. And I think she brings shame onto an institution that I happen to believe in massively, and I think some of the stuff she says and does, I even don't want to talk about it, Rafe, because she's that inconsequential. But we're so open-mouthed with the audacity of this woman that we do talk about it.
Yeah, well, you're absolutely right. Every word you said is true. And the tragedy is there was so much hope when she first married into the family that she was going to be like, was it Carlsberg or Heineken? The beer that reaches parts other beers can't reach. And we hoped that she would be a Commonwealth ambassador, connecting us with the Caribbean and in places in Africa and so forth. And what a disaster. Instead, she turns around and she calls the royal family racist. And that's one thing you can't lay against the royal family. The King's life has been all about working with multi-ethnic communities. The Queen's most admired person in the world was Nelson Mandela. That's the person that Queen Elizabeth admired more than anyone else. She was great friends with so many people. It was Prince Charles's, as he then was, black choir that he got to sing at Meghan's wedding. And Harry, of course, being, as you said, something whipped, a cuck, if you want to call it, he was happy for his family to be called racist for almost a year before he finally stepped in and said, actually, my family isn't racist. Well, I'm sorry, by that time, the damage had been done. And, the true measure of a person is not in the sort of virtue signaling in which she engages. Those photo shoots and those carefully crafted videos which show her faux concern with the plight of the poor and downtrodden strangers. The true measure of a person is how they treat their nearest and their dearest, their family, their friends, their employees. And Meghan's record suggests that her public image of compassion and love and respect, all those things she's always bleating about, are a complete con. But amazingly, amongst the young in this country and in America as well, she does have support. Although, of course, the polling ratings here show she's vying with Andrew for the lowest common denominator.
Listen, mate, it is always a pleasure. I wish I had more time. Please be a regular. We love having you on. Thank you so much indeed. Rafe Heidel, Mancu, political and royal commentator. To the break. Whatever you want to talk about, the station is yours. Morning, Katie.
It's Katie from Norfolk. I'm actually already at work cleaning toilets. Woo-hoo! I just wanted to let you know that it's not just the mayor election that Norfolk isn't going to see. We're also not meant to be having the May elections either. That's all going to be postponed. Really need to be looked into, this government. Dodgy, dodgy, dodgy. All right, keep up the great work. Thanks, guys.
Across the UK. On DAB+. On YouTube. On your mobile. And on your side. This is Talk.
Good morning, my friends. 20 minutes to 9 o'clock. We're live across the UK on Talk. So many of you getting involved. The stories keep coming. Morning, Jez. Jack from Southampton here. I'm diagnosed ADHD. I suffer from anxiety as well. My wife from depression. However, we both work 40 hours a week and do not claim a single penny and never has. And it cheeses me off something chronic when I hear about people who abuse our system. It is utterly, utterly depressing. Jez, says Rob, with regards to the overdiagnosis of mental health, surely the issue is not the diagnosis, but the green lighting of benefits and handing the diagnosis instantly brings. Listening to your callers this morning, it seems quite clear to me that many diagnoses should carry a mild qualification, which basically means that, yes, you have the condition, but you don't necessarily need to finish your life as a working person accordingly. Here's a man who's written an amazing article, which I'm desperately trying to find this morning. Can we say a very good morning to a man who brings a degree of quality and intelligence to this otherwise pretty rubbish show, to be fair. Jack Elson, political editor of The Sun. Good morning. What page is your article? And I've lost it. There it is.
Page 10. Well, Jeremy, I've got many articles in The Sun newspaper today, but the one I think you want to talk about is on page 10.
It is indeed. Well, this is really interesting. Should have had you on yesterday, but you're a busy man. Let's move it away for a sec from Wes Streeting, Labour mayoral cancellations, and also I want to talk to you about the barracks. Yesterday, Financial Times, opening page, front page, Nigel Donors deal. 6:05, he tweets, "It's fake news, it's fake news." Badenoch says, "Not a cat in hell's chance." Nigel went, "They're ludicrous and that's ridiculous, they're liars." I've asked every single Tory since that moment, and I just asked Sir Ian Duncan-Smith, if we find ourselves, Jack Elsom, in 2.5 years, in a country that is by the day on its knees, right? Is it true that the right to avoid some dreadful mess of Labour, Ed Davey, your party, not your party, the Fruit and Nut Party, and that dreadful, dreadful Zach Balansky, that the people in the Tory and, in fact, Reform parties would owe it to the British people to at least get their heads together? That's what I think.
Well, I think there's definitely going to be that growing conversation as an election nears, because clearly, for many people in both Reform and the Tories and on the broader right, it seems pretty insane that you are having two pretty similar parties fishing in the same pool. Yeah. And what we know in our first past the post system is that blocks which are split get badly punished. And it could even allow a Labour Party, if it manages to unite the progressives, as Keir Starmer is trying to do, to come up through the middle if the Tories and Reform are too busy fighting each other. And I think that is clearly going to be the obvious numbers at the next election. The problem is, can a deal be done? And that's what I write in the piece, because I am quite sceptical at this point.
Is this your piece on page 10 of The Sun today, Jack, that we've got on screen now?
It is that very one with a very nice picture of a handsome devil, a byline picture straight slap bang in the middle, which I'm sure many people will be admiring over their.
Is that your mugshot from when you were arrested, or that's genuinely a photo? Is it that one?
We had these professional photos taken a few years ago at the House of Commons terrace, and we were told to look incredibly serious because it's serious times, or it was then and it is now. And so that's how that photo came about. But back to even more serious matters about Kay Badenoch and Nigel Farage. Listen, Westminster, never underestimate the power of Westminster egos. And I think that is what could really get in the way of any sort of deal being done. Look about Nigel Farage. He's currently clearly ahead in the polls. He's odds-on favourite to be the next Prime Minister. He stood down a raft of candidates in the 2019 election when basically gifted Boris Johnson that massive majority. He did it because he wanted to get Brexit through and save the country from Corbynism. Since then, he felt very bruised and wounded that immigration skyrocketed, the Brexit deal was bodged in many ways. he was sidelined by the Conservatives. They never thanked him. Now he's within touching distance of actually doing the unthinkable and becoming Prime Minister. There is not a cat's chance in hell that he is going to be playing second fiddle to a Conservative Party, which at the moment looks like it's in the doldrums. But I think Kemi Badenoch is also coming back. She's making some inroads. The last few weeks have been better than a pretty poor start. And there is a world in which she actually managed to creep up the polls by the next election. There is no way, and think about the Tory party, even if Badenoch wanted to do some sort of deal with Farage, be it a full-on merger, can never see that happening, or you stand down in some seats, we'll stand down in some other seats, there are just many people in the Conservative Party that will never let her do that. One, they're a proud party, and the idea of the most successful party in the Western world ever standing down seats in an election for Nigel Farage is unthinkable to many. But also, while Nigel Farage is the total ruler of reform and can basically click his fingers and people will follow him, that is not the same with Kemi Badenoch. There will be people in that party who are wets and who would rather move against their leader than ever jump into bed with Nigel Farage. And so I just think the structures there and the personality clashes at the moment, I think, makes a deal look far-fetched.
I'm gonna say something that I didn't say yesterday. I would never underestimate Parliament. I would never underestimate good comms. You might, from a reform point of view, think that that might have sent a very clear message to people who are indeed dithering, that if you don't put your money where your mouth is, because I think there will be millions who haven't made their mind up and come to reform, you will end up with that scenario. You could say it from the Tory point of view. Fascinating times. The other thing that's caused a massive political response today is Labour announcing, Jack, that they're postponing 4 mayoral elections for 2 years. This seen by Reform, Zia's on at 9, and the Conservatives is an absolute dereliction of duty. They're taking away our basic democratic right. Listen to this. James, good morning.
Morning, Jezza. James from Liverpool here. So, they're actually breaking democracy yet again by postponing the mayoral elections. All this ever does, it makes people hate them more. So, as you'll find with the elections they've put off last year till this May, they'll get wiped out even more so than what they got wiped out last year, because people hate them, no one trusts them, they're full of lies, gaslighting, and they've got absolutely no idea what they're doing. What a great morning to be British, eh? Have a great day, my friend. Take care. Bye-bye.
Yeah, I'm going to after that. Jack, what do you make of that?
Well, the Labour government haven't actually announced it yet. The plans were leaked to me late last night, and actually when they were, I couldn't quite believe it. I ended up breaking the story in the makeup room of a different TV channel late last night, and my phone absolutely blew up.
Sorry, you broke it in the makeup room of another TV channel. I made you, I created you, and you didn't give me the exclusive.
Well, it was very late last night, just before I was about to go and do a paper review on a rival station who shall not be named.
No.
And
It's all pie in the sky, that.
Quite. My phone totally blew up. Senior people in Reform, senior people in the Tories, even people in the Labour Party who aren't happy about this, because whatever their excuse is, and the Housing Secretary, the Local Government Secretary, Steve Reed, will today make the case that these new unitary councils need more time to reorganise and bed in and the rest of it. There are many people that can't get over the pretty blatant fact that delaying elections, no matter what the reason, never looks good. And lots of these councils were going to be prime targets for reform. Think about places like Essex, Norfolk, Suffolk, Tories, maybe down in Hampshire, Brighton probably less so. But the Reform Party and the Conservatives are clearly using this as a stick to beat the Labour Party today and saying, what are you so afraid of? And for all of Labour's promises and claims that it's actually something to do with the wider bureaucratic reorganisation, they are now incredibly vulnerable to charges that they are dodging the electorate by delaying these votes.
It's really interesting as well. I mean, I've said this forever. And as long as I can possibly remember, politicians of all parties and all colours and all creeds seriously need to wake up, Jack, to the belief, right, that actually actually the British people, the silent majority, the hard workers that have always done their bit and never complain, are at the end of their tether. We just had a tweet last night from Farage. Don't know if you saw this. This is his description of the cancelling of those elections. These are the actions of despots, not Democrats. And I think a lot of people will be really angry. Zia Yusuf, head of policy, will be on with us after 9. How many articles have you got in the paper today, Jack? Just out of interest.
Well, if you look at the spread on page 4 and 5, we've got a great article in the Sun today about how pubs are going to be allowed to pour pints until 1 in the morning during the World Cup.
Look at the smile on his face. Look at his priorities. Look at him. Look, honestly.
It's beer and football, Jeremy. It beats politics every day of the week in terms of the feel-good factor.
Right. Well, in terms of the feel-good factor, Jack, this is very important because it's an extraordinary story this morning in the Daily Telegraph. This is genuinely true. I will get it there on camera. A lick from a dog makes teenagers happier adults. It's genuinely in the paper, a lick from a dog. Mate, look at his face, he looks completely confused. Now, knowing what dogs lick, I wouldn't encourage this, but on the basis that football and beer makes you happy, would that be the answer to Jack Elson? What makes you happy?
Well, beer and probably rugby more than football, I would say. But, it's the World Cup next year, so I get into that. A lick from a dog, I'd probably pass, if I'm honest.
Absolutely agreed. Anyway, buy the... actually, we should rename it. It's not called The Sun. Buy the Elsum today. Buy the Elsum. It's a great newspaper.
Great idea, yeah. Great idea.
The newest red top, ladies and gentlemen. It's very, very good. £1.29 for the Elsum. Out daily. Jack, thank you, my friend. Always a pleasure to have you on. We'll do sport with Catherine Walsh. Big game tonight. Manchester United are going to be battered by the legends of West Ham. Back in 3.
The Talk app. You can watch, catch up and listen to all your favourite shows and podcasts anytime, anywhere, all on the Talk app. Watching and listening to Talk just got easier. There's now only one place for the home of common sense. So head over to your App Store or Google Play and search Talk now.
Across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Home of Common Sense, 5 to 9. We're live across the UK. Loads of response to the story this morning that Defence chiefs have moved teenage cadets out of that training camp in East Crowborough in Sussex because 600 illegal migrants are going to be housed there. The Defence chiefs have said it's not safe for you. Let's forget the population then. Jason from Exeter said, Jezza, the sad thing is that those 600 migrants going to the army camp is only one day of the numbers that are coming across. Morning, Jez, loving the show. So the government are moving soldiers out of the barracks and moving illegal immigrants into Crowborough because it's not safe for them. If it's not safe for trained soldiers who can fight and look after themselves, what sort of message does Dan from Staffordshire say that sends to the rest of us? Absolutely. Morning, Jez. There must be something the public can do when we're being denied local votes for a second year. Surely democratically, the Labour Party can't keep doing this. Starmer is so desperate to keep his power, there are no depths to which he will stoop. He must be stupid, because the move will undoubtedly cost him votes. Joe in Norfolk, nobody can understand the theory. It's utter madness. 87222. Start your message with the word talk. Don't forget, replying to that is the head of policy at Reform, Zia Youssef, after the news at 9. Both political parties, the Conservatives and Reform, saying he's an absolute disgrace. Look at the time. Push the button, Big M.
90 minutes in 90 seconds. From The Sun.
Time for our sports bulletin with The Sun. A very good morning, Catherine Walsh. Are you a Manchester United supporter?
No, I couldn't possibly say.
Yeah, no, you could, because I'm a West Ham fan, so I was going to absolutely have a right old ding-dong with you. Who do you support?
Oh, are you?
Yeah, I'm a West Ham fan. Who do you support?
I couldn't say.
Oh, brilliant. Right, listen, big game tonight. Manchester United are about as consistent as treacle, and West Ham are about as useful as treacle. How do you see it going, Catherine?
Oh, well, it is so hard to tell. You never know what you're going to get with this United side. What I will say is that West Ham can be very buoyed by the fact that Everton went to Old Trafford last Monday and got a win with 10 men. West Ham obviously beat United twice last season as well. The first win saw Erik ten Hag sacked after that game. So West Ham have every chance. I know they lost to Liverpool last time out, but it's so hard to tell.
It is hard to tell. They're both really inconsistent, and I was most gutted on Sunday with West Ham because I thought on the day that the biggest legend ever, apart from Bobby Moore, Billy Bonds, passed away aged 76, I wouldn't have needed to motivate my players any other way than to put a photo of Bonzo up in the dressing room. Last night, Catherine, Arsenal winning again. I cheered as Leeds beat Chelsea because my entire family support Chelsea. They were beaten. Bad away defeat at Leeds. And Liverpool, look, what the hell's happened to Liverpool? Barely scraping a draw with an own goal against Sunderland.
Yeah, Liverpool look like they've taken another further step back. It was a really, really poor performance at home at Anfield, where, the last 2 or 3 seasons they were unbeaten there. No one could ever come away with Anfield with any sort of result. They haven't won at Anfield now in the last 3 games, and I think they've taken 23 points from the last 18 Premier League games since winning the league in April. So the wheels are well and truly off. They're 11 points behind Arsenal, and they're well and truly out of the title race.
I have to say, and I say it every day for a reason, I'm not an Arsenal fan, never will be, but if he does not win the Premier League this season with that squad and with the start, I think that will be curtains. This has to be Arteta's moment, doesn't it?
They have to win the league now. Yeah, everyone else is so inconsistent. You saw Chelsea last night. They were sort of penned as their closest to maybe give them a sort of title race after beating Barcelona and drawing with Arsenal last weekend, but they've lost to Leeds now. City are very inconsistent. No one else can put in a run of results like Arsenal can. So, yeah, this is their season. They have to win the league. Otherwise, big questions and big protests, I think, in North London.
Really good to have you on. Catherine Walsh, Manchester United reporter for The Sun. All your information in Sunsport. Cricket, Ashes, second test, day-night game in Brisbane. England winning the toss, electing to bat. We were 2 for 2. Recovered well, 196 for 4 at dinner. Joe Root, 61 not out. We'll update you. It's almost 9 o'clock. We're live across the UK. Zia Youssef, the Reform head of policy, will respond to Labour cancelling mayoral elections, and also the hotel that's cancelled the Reform UK Christmas party because they don't want to be associated with them. 0344 499 1000 is our telephone number. Text to 87222. Enjoy the next 3 minutes. We're back after the news at 9.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Good morning again, my friends. Just gone 9 o'clock. You are with Talk, of course, the home of common sense. It's where the nation comes to talk each morning, 6 till 10. Julia here in an hour. If you want to be part of the debate, 87222. Start your message with the word talk, or your calls, voice notes, whatever. They're beavering away, the boys. 0344 499 1000. You're waking up, of course. You've heard the news. Health Secretary Wes Streeting ordering an independent review into the over-diagnosis of mental health conditions such as ADHD. We've been asking all morning, are we over-labelling people? Are people using it as an excuse to gain more benefits? Undoubtedly, but that frightens the genuine people. It shouldn't. The genuine people should understand that people who are gaming the system are taking money away from you. Reports today that A&E departments last Christmas, this is outrageous, 200,000 people went to A&E last Christmas across the winter holidays and said, I've got an ingrown toenail, I need to see a doctor, or I've got a headache or a sore throat. Ludicrous. Take some responsibility. Zia Youssef, and just to tick, for Reform, responding to the news this morning that Labour is postponing a number of next year's mayoral elections till 2028. 4 new combined authorities are to go. This has sparked outrage. Nigel Farage has tweeted, listen to this, Tony in Hampshire, our local elections were cancelled last year due to the restructuring of the boroughs and the new mayoral elections. They look like they're now going to be postponed again. Sorry, did I bloody well wake up in North Korea with Kim Jong-Starmer in charge? I think you might have done. All sorts of stuff to talk about, plus, of course, that news from East Crowborough in Sussex that this is unreal. You've seen the people jumping around and saying this is wrong. The news that 600 small-boat migrants were going to be put in an army training camp, confirmed overnight, but it gets worse. The defence chiefs have said to the cadets, who have trained there for 80 years, by the way, since the end of the Second World War, you've got to go. And do you want to know the reason they said? It's not safe for you. Which sort of begs the question, if it's not safe for trained men with guns, it's all right just to leave these men there, is it, for the men and women and basically kids of East Crowborough? Utterly unbelievable. Sean, good morning.
Morning, Jeremy. Sean from Leicester, loving the show. This PIP and this mobility stuff and people claiming makes my blood boil. Absolutely. Everybody knows somebody who's mugging the system off. There's somebody I know who literally, they've just got a 4x4 mobility car that we're paying for. They're also going on 2 cruises next year. Who's the mug? Me that gets up every morning and literally works my bits off and does things on the side to try and bring some cash in. Legally, by the way, legally. It's just, I don't know, mate. It just makes me so angry. Literally every other person must be like mugging the state off that we're paying for. Anyway, great show, mate. Catch you later.
Completely agree, Sean, and that's the reality of Alarm Clock Britain. And when people say, oh, Jez, come on, no. Yes, of course, we should look after those who are ill, infirm, disabled, mentally affected. Yes, of course, that's the whole reason of why this country is great. The benefit system was the greatest invention in the modern world. But do we not, as a society, have an absolute moment here to go, stop taking the what's it, and actually as a government, whether it's this one or the last one or the next one, be firm, be strong, say to the slackers and the grifters and all those people who are taking advantage, no, you're not getting it. And I don't care if that goes against, the people who say we should give everything to everybody, because those people, right, they don't have migrants at the end of their street. They don't have a benefits bill to deal with. Virtue signalling is one thing, right? This country is skint. And it's about time the people in charge realise it. We'll say a very good morning to the head of policy at Reform UK. He'll brighten my Thursday. Zia Yusuf, good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning. Very well.
Try not to rant too much. Where do you want to start? Should we start with Wes Streeting? Independent review, overdiagnosis of mental health. Completely agree. It led me to ask this morning, how many people are playing the game and how many people are being, it's all about labels. And then, of course, this shocking story that A&E's here. 200,000 appointments last Christmas. I've got an ingrowing toenail or I'm having a bad hair day. People need to take responsibility, but politicians and this government need to be stronger, don't they?
Yeah, they do. Look, what we're hearing of, the Labour government basically pointing to things that everybody in this country could have told them for years and years. We know A&E has been backed up totally unacceptably. We've been talking about this for quite a long time, actually, Jeremy. We've talked about the fact that 19,000 British people waited more than 3 days in A&E last year alone. That is a shameful figure. One of the key reasons for this, actually, is that there is simply not enough GP capacity. Why is there not enough GP capacity? There's not enough GPs, but also there's been a population explosion. The population has exploded, particularly under the Conservative government. Tens of thousands of new registrants to GP surgeries who are foreign nationals. We already have that data. We talked about that last year, so we know about that. And then in terms of the overdiagnosis problem, well, Richard Tice talked about this, if you remember, at a press conference just a couple of weeks ago on SEND, and he got inundated with all kinds of abuse. And look, I've spent time in county halls because a lot of the coalface of dealing with SEND challenges is at local council level. I've spent time in reform councils across the country, and I could see, the officers are sitting there. We're looking at numbers where the number of kids who are being diagnosed with special educational needs is compounding at a double-digit growth rate from an already very large number. And each one of those is a big liability for the taxpayer. And as you just alluded to, the people who lose out the most when there is overdiagnosis or there are people gaming the system who actually need help from the system. Why is it that people get so angry if you see someone parking in a disabled parking bay when they don't they shouldn't do. It's because there's a deep sense of injustice there. There's a limited supply of those spaces. You can't just turn up an order and just get another one by answering some questions correctly. We do have, frankly, an epidemic of overdiagnosis. It doesn't do anyone any favors. And one of the big problems here, Jeremy, is that the incentive structure now in the country is changing. It's getting to the stage where if you're not gaming the system, and I'm hearing this from parents, it's like, well, I want my son or my daughter to get more time in exams. There are exams, I'm hearing stories where exams are finishing and about a tenth of the kids are leaving at the allotted time and everybody else is staying for extra time because they've got some sort of special educational need. Now, at that point, who's being an irresponsible parent? That's the really sad and worrying situation that we're now in. We've got to get a handle on this. I'll give you another data point I read over the weekend. Most of your listeners may not have seen it, but they were talking about it in America too, where 40%, 40, of undergraduates at Stanford University, one of America's Ivy League elite schools, also have some kind of mental health condition and are getting special, what they call accommodations for this. So we're seeing the same thing there. There's a lot of people there also talking about the incentive structure being completely wrong. We've got to stop people who do not need these special accommodations, who are not truly special educational needs from getting it. We've got to get a handle on this. Otherwise, frankly, the country's going to go bankrupt many times over in the coming years.
And I think, you're right. Listen, I've told this story many times, but my now 20-year-old daughter was diagnosed with, at the age of 12, the worst dyslexia. And when I say this, I've said this to her face, so everybody should have a sense of humour. Her name's Ava, and she was that bad she couldn't spell her name, and it's the same backwards as it is forward. She got help financed by me, and that girl ended up with 8 GCSEs, 3 A-levels. She went to York University and she's working. She never sat and went, I'm not going to do it, but she saw other people being given the same benefits, but she needed them. We have to care about the genuine people, Zia, but we have to have this unfortunately hard conversation for many that fairness should run straight down the middle. Let me bring you to the other thing, which I know you're absolutely raging about, so am I. Labour overnight confirming, or they will this morning, that next year's mayoral elections in 4 boroughs will be postponed 4 years. Essex, Hampshire and Solent, Sussex and Brighton, Norfolk and Suffolk. Labour says we need to sort of organise things. Yourself, Conservatives saying you're delaying the inevitable, and more than that, Zia Youssef, are they not denying the British people their democratic right in what is blatantly political posturing because they're scared of losing? Are they not?
That's exactly what he's doing. Starmer's acting like a dictator. And can we imagine what would happen if Nigel Farage won a general election? One of the first things he did was cancel elections for millions of people, start withdrawing jury trials, starting to try to impose digital ID. Can you imagine what we would hear from the mainstream media and from the institutions, for example? This is an absolutely flagrant political decision to deny millions of people the vote. I mean, people are talking about it as boroughs and things. I want to be crystal clear. This is 10% of the British population that is affected. These are huge, newly created areas. 10% of the British population. Over 7 million people live in those affected areas. That's on top of, we had 5 million people affected last year. You know, you mentioned the Tories criticising this one. Remember, it was the Tories who colluded with Labour to cancel last year's ones. That the Tories would have lost a hell of a lot more council seats if they had, if we had run all of the elections that were meant to happen. I will say this to Reform voters and Reform inclined people who are listening, is that Keir Starmer is merely delaying the inevitable. They're trying to keep at bay this turquoise tidal wave that has been sweeping the country now for some time. What he's not going to be able to do is prevent it ultimately from crashing down on them twice as hard. I think people are absolutely furious about this. They're spitting with anger, and I think that's absolutely right. And by the way, we speak to people from around the world who see all of this stuff, and that they genuinely are flabbergasted. They say, don't you have some constitutional protection?
Well, listen to this.
You're going to try and cancel the general election? And I'm afraid to say, you know, this is also the Labour government. This is not in isolation. We've got millions of people being robbed of their democratic right to vote. We've got digital ID now being imposed. That was not in the manifesto. We've got jury trials, the right to jury trials, which has been enshrined since Magna Carta for hundreds of years. That's being withdrawn. We've got the Attorney General, Starmer's Attorney General, that he appointed, launching deeply political and personal attacks against his primary political rival. So we've got a whole host of things that, frankly, look deeply authoritarian. And I'm afraid we've all got to make our voices crystal clear that we view it as totally unacceptable, and make sure that the uni party is punished at the ballot box at the next given opportunity.
You'll love this. This is whilst you've been speaking, Zia. Jez, tell Zia, a friend who was twice the local mayor of Chorley, who defected and is due to stand for reform, last night attended a council meeting where they voted to cancel the local election in May. It's the constituency of the Speaker of the House of Commons, Sir Lindsay Hoyle. He put total commie takeover. It's interesting, isn't it? It's interesting.
It is. Yeah, that is very
That they just don't want to know. I'll bring you on to the other thing. I completely agree with you on that. I mean, that has caused outrage, this even more so. You will obviously have heard, as will the viewers and listeners, of what's happening in East Crowborough. Crowborough, a little village in East Sussex. It came to prominence a few weeks ago that the government planned to take 600 small boat migrants, in brackets illegals, in brackets asylum seekers, close brackets, and put them in this army training camp. Overnight, there were protests and the community was saying, well, what about safety issues? And all the do-gooders went, that's a bit unfair. But people were saying, I'm concerned about my families. Quite right. Overnight, this is unbelievable, Ministry of Defence chiefs have ordered teenage cadets, who, by the way, have trained there 80 years since the end of the Second World War, to leave the training camp within hours to make way for the migrants. And the reason they have given the cadets is it's not going to be safe for them because of the migrants in Crowborough and East Sussex, which begs the single question. So fighting men who are trained are in danger. What about the British public then? Unbelievable.
Yeah, well, every now and again, you see the mask slip and you hear what the government really thinks about this situation. That is incredibly shocking. It's exactly right. You know, why should little girls be forced to go to schools nearby, these sorts of facilities, when, yeah, exactly as you said, cadets, military cadets, it is deemed unsafe for them. It's not dissimilar to, do you remember when the court case for the Epping the Epping migrant hotel was going on, and lawyers for the Home Office making the case for why the government should be able to continue to house illegal migrants there, said explicitly, they made the explicit legal argument that yes, the rights of the illegal migrants do take precedence over the rights of local residents. They said it clear as day inside the courtroom. And so, you know, that is where we currently are. We've been saying this for some time. Forget about British people first with the Uni Party. It's been British people last. The British people are literally the last possible people that Labour or the Tories have considered when making these appalling policies. And so there's a very simple answer to how we deal with this. We have to detain illegal migrants. We have to deport them, and that will ensure they stop coming. And that also means the north of a million people who are here illegally also have to leave. We have to uphold immigration law. This country is now viewed as a joke. That's why people come here from France. The reason they come here from France, and again, I want to emphasise that, they're coming here from France, a country that lots of British people go to on holiday every year, because we're a soft touch, because we roll out the red carpet, because they get free accommodation, they get free taxis, free meals, free days out. I mean, we've covered this. I've been on your show talking about the, frankly, monstrously inappropriate things that British taxpayers are forced to pay for these people. And it's time we finally put British people first. We've had enough of it. And I'm afraid the only way we're actually going to see an end to this, because the last thing I'll say about this is you'll hear a lot from Labour, them talking about, oh, we're going to close all the hotels. They'll close hotels because they're dispersing them into houses of multiple occupancy. And now we have further evidence, by the way, that now what they're doing is literally just giving them taxpayer cash and saying, go and find some friends to stay with, and offering hundreds of pounds a week.
Listen, we've talked privately, we've talked on air. I find it astonishing that a raft of politicians, elected officials, the blob, whatever, are so seemingly prepared to continue to take the British public for fools. I know all the people that jump up and down and they say, oh, this right and this right, but they forget, and you put it there, the British people. And it is neither far right nor racist nor anything other than full of common sense to say, if you don't concentrate on the very people who are providing the money that's paying for all of this, something will give. And I find the attitude of so many politicians. When Nigel, I watched him the other day, tried to stand up and speak about this, they're booing and hissing and waving and shouting. And I'm looking at them on screens here and I'm thinking, you're all going to lose your seats, you idiots. You're not listening to the mood of the country. Let me just throw one thing at you before you go. I remember at the party conference talking to Nigel and saying they'll come for you now, the establishment. There's a story overnight in the Telegraph that a hotel, I was due to be here, cancels the Reform UK Christmas party. Is that true?
Yeah, well, there's been multiple venues that we've had multiple issues like this. And look, to be fair, even on the venues, what is happening is they are just being inundated with threats. And so we have to ask ourselves how we've arrived in this situation where a party that is not just a mainstream party, but a party, frankly, dominating in opinion polls, has events, not universally. I want to be crystal clear. We have lots of events. I was up at a brilliant one in Durham a couple of nights ago at an old working man's club. So we do have lots of great events around the country, but it only ever seems to happen to Reform, doesn't it? It doesn't seem to happen to any other party. And if we allow, again, going back to this sense of authoritarianism that is pervasive now inside this Labour government, if we allow ourselves to be intimidated, and we're in a situation where the party leading in national opinion polls is having events cancelled because event organisers are basically fearful to run the event because they're being hit by online mobs. We have to ask ourselves what is going wrong, and we would implore such venues to do the right thing, because in the end, Reform is supported by a third of the country already. It's looking like it's certainly a high possibility that Reform could form the next government, and for millions of people around the country, Reform is a source of hope for them. So we would urge them to do the right thing and allow these events to go ahead.
And it comes back to that whole establishment thing, people sending threats. You're disrespecting the millions of people who believe in this, and you're disrespecting, the basic political process. Great to have you on, my friend. The fight continues. Thank you so much indeed. Zia Youssef, Head of Policy at Reform UK. Graham in Birmingham, slightly worried. He says, I'm about to go to the bookies and place a bet on Labour postponing the next general election. Do you think that's possible? Morning, Laura.
Morning, Jeremy. Laura in Wiltshire. Re A&E. My daughter had a horrible car accident. Someone drove into her, wrote off her car last year, and she was taken by ambulance into hospital, and I met her there. She'd been given something in the ambulance that had reacted badly with, and she was feeling incredibly sick. No one in reception was able to give me anything, so I went and found a waste paper bin. She was really quite distressed and not getting treatment after nearly an hour. And someone said to me, well, we're ahead of you in the queue, and actually I can't be bothered to wait, I'll come back tomorrow. I mean, genuinely, you can't make it up. Great show.
The Talk app. You can watch, catch up and listen to all your favourite shows and podcasts anytime, anywhere, all on the Talk app. Watching and listening to Talk just got easier. There's now only one place for the home of common sense. So head over to your App Store or Google Play and search Talk now.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Good morning, my friends. Alarm clock Brits and workers, people doing the business. 9:25. We're live across the UK. Julia Hartley-Brewer here from 10 o'clock. Ian Collins from 1. And Alex Phillips sounding great on Drive this afternoon from 4. Loads of stuff in the newspapers, in the stories. We're talking about the overdiagnosis. We're talking about A&E. We're talking about mayoral elections being cancelled by Keir Starlin. We're talking about teenage cadets being shoved out of their barracks so that illegal migrants can come in. Kevin, good morning.
Good morning, Jezza. I just wanted to say that I had a friend who was obviously fiddling the system and got his son diagnosed with ADHD. He didn't have it. No way did he have it. Anyway, he got the benefits and everything like that. When his son got to 17, he wanted to join the army, but he couldn't because they don't allow people in with ADHD. So these parents doing this are stopping our kids from joining our army.
Interesting, 9:25. Jez, my son needed to see a doc last week, filled the form in, and the AI bot suggested he went to A&E. Bloody ridiculous. He didn't go. He managed to get an appointment next day at a GP. Chest infection, antibiotics described. Or even prescribed. She wrote described. Unfortunately, a lot of people would just believe the bot and actually go to A&E. I don't even know what a bot is. Jez, one child with ADHD, never had a penny in benefits and never wanted it. He's an adult now and works full-time without state intervention. These people gaming the system on the back of their children should be forced to stop it, says Sally. Pete says, praise for the NHS, Jez. I only died 3 times and I've had PTSD and sometimes I still wake up in terror screaming. It's taken several years now and yes, the NHS has saved my life on these occasions. But it's fair to say something is not what it was. I've had an operation gone wrong, won a claim, yet then got told not disabled enough to get PIP. I was self-employed and told I'm not entitled to benefits, so I left the country for a while because it doesn't look after its own. Ian's in Somerset, which is indeed brave. A&E stands for Accident and Emergency. Hospitals should be able to send idiots packing and direct them to their GP and not waste their time. Ian, I agree, but the point is you can't get to see a GP, but also people have to take responsibility. They can't just go, oh, an ingrowing toenail. What did that doctor say earlier? It could be cancer of the toe. Just get some scissors and cut it out. Jeff, good morning. My son is a paramedic, as he points out. A&E worked great during COVID because people were told to stay away and there were people on the doors sending them away when they didn't have a real emergency. Interesting. Yeah, this is true. Somebody said earlier about Morecambe, and I said the most famous thing about Morecambe is Tyson Fury. I'm getting wrapped on the lips. Andy? So Tyson Fury lives in Morecambe, but surely Eric Morecambe is more famous for Morecambe Sing-Along, Now Bring Me Sunshine. But does he come from Morecambe or is his name Morecambe? Do you see what I mean? That's a big issue. Ken is in Essex. No mayoral election for you, Ken. Why did I call him? Anyway, I'm part of the Alarm Clock Britain, Jez, and I'm struggling. There's so much negativity in the United Kingdom, and it's not going to change for at least 2 to 4 years. We've just got to put up with it, keep going. It will get worse, but believe there is a future. 9:28. It's a story on page... Just end off the show feeling even more miserable. Page 2. Costs hidden in OBR report. Mad Ed's at it again, ladies and gentlemen. You know that dreadful man. Green Ed's adding £1 billion a year to household bills just in his quest to reach net zero. Ed Miliband's Eco Crusade will add that amount of money to household bills every year, the economic watchdog has warned. I mean, is it true? Have they leaked it? We say a very good morning to Maurice Cousins, campaign director, the only man who speaks sense on net stupid. Where are you today? It all looks a bit weird at the back. What's going on?
Well, I'm currently in the office, but it's very grim behind me, so I blurred it because to spare your viewers the state of our walls.
So basically, things are so bad for you at your home that your walls are grim.
Yes, it's this is what it's like living in Keir Starmer's Britain.
I couldn't agree more, Maurice.
We're in decline.
Great to have you on. Green Ed will add $1 billion a year to household bills. This man has no shame, has he?
No shame. We don't forget, Jeremy, we've got the highest industrial electricity prices in the developed world.
Yep.
Right. So by doing this, he's just making it more and more, uncompetitive and ladening more burden on businesses and families. It's outrageous. Absolutely outrageous.
He says coughing. Sorry. Again, with politicians. Do they not understand how unpopular this rubbish is? I mean, somebody said something to me the other day that I thought was quite interesting when they said that if you ask people, generally in large numbers, are you concerned about the environment? They will say yes. I care about the environment. If you add the caveat, your bills are going to go up by hundreds of pounds, because this country seemingly wants to follow an ideology that says, let's try and make enough electricity, but we can't. So we'll buy it from somewhere else at more cost so that we feel morally great, but we'll screw you, the public taxpayer. If you say that to people, they have a very different answer. I listen to people. The people look me in the face and they say, 80% of the country worries about this and wants net zero. No, it doesn't. Does it?
No, I mean, you're bang on there. I mean, we've done lots of polling on this and research, and what it shows is what you say. Yes, support for concern about climate change is high, but when it comes to what we should do about it, that it isn't so clear. And you're right. When you do say to people, even if it's a few pounds a month that it'll add to your bills, support drops. So the government doesn't really have a mandate to do this. With their green energy and net zero plans, it is very bizarre because in Westminster, they obsess. They only ever really want to sort of focus on one element of the story. They don't actually ever look at it in the round. And I don't really understand how you can make decisions, effectively if you don't actually consider the trade-offs. And we are storing ourselves up for very serious problems politically and socially in this country with our energy system. We need to remember that energy does sit at the base of our economy. When you make energy expensive, it makes everything expensive. And energy bills. There's been ample research on this that people really do see it as a daily reminder that politics is not working, that politicians are not delivering for them, because they can see. I've seen focus groups where you've had families that are struggling to heat the home to the temperature that they want, having internal fights and disputes with their children because they can't turn the temperature up and there isn't enough hot water to shower children properly before they go to school. This is really, really serious, Jeremy. This is not something that you would have seen, back in the early 2000s when we were, when energy was at its most competitive in this country.
But you'll never convince me that if a country, I'll have stand-up arguments with people. You'll never also convince me that if a country is that skint, it's spending north of 120 billion a year on interest rates, when and I know it's a Trump phrase, but I'm searching for another one. If you've got revenue under your ground, I'd bloody well drill it and sell it to make sure we're all better off. I don't understand this philosophy and ideology that we again have to appear to be doing the right thing to the detriment, Maurice, this is my point, to your indigenous population. Be it, I'm going to increase your taxes to pay for better public services, not for you lot, but for people coming to this country illegally. I'm going to increase your energy costs because I believe that I'll look good if I claim that I can make enough electricity in a different way. But by the way, your bills are going up. I'm going to make it easier for people to commit crime and get out of prison to the detriment of the victims, but I'll feel good. I just think we're in this doom loop of moralistic BS which seems to govern so much of what we do. It's frightening. Frightening.
Very, very frightening. I think a problem that we've got is that a lot of people in Westminster, it's a tale as old as time, really, that we've got out-of-touch elites that have got one set of views about how we organise and govern society, and it's completely divorced from reality. And I think we've exhausted that now. I think we're really at the sort of the fag end now of the 1997 consensus, and that's why Reform are ahead in the polls. It's why the Tories got a drubbing at the last election, and what they're doing in the energy space. I mean, this is it's a 20-year experiment, and it's been a complete and utter failure. And I think at the next election, I don't necessarily think it will be the only thing that people will be voting on, but it'll be a major contributory factor. The cost of living will be a determining factor. And while people may not consciously go in there and sort of say, "Oh, we're voting for reform because they reject net zero," what they will take away from the last few decades is they'll say the established parties have failed. My living standards are lower than they were many decades ago, and I'll vote for the other side that say that they will fix it and come in with a radical different. And when we say radical, I mean really what Reform are doing.
Common sense.
It's common sense. Yes, it's just going back to what we knew, what we actually knew.
Conservative
200
values.
years ago.
Conservative values when there was a Conservative Party. Morris, love having you on. Let me say something to you. You think I make this up? We discovered this at 5:30 this morning in the Daily Telegraph. Before anybody thinks that this is some sort of outrageous thing, the Daily Telegraph says a lick from a dog makes people happier adults. I myself made the point that. In terms of what dogs do in terms of licking themselves, I don't think it's a particularly healthy thing, but I'm asking all my contributors this morning if certain people like being licked by a dog to be happy. What makes Morris Cousins happy? Cheap electricity? What? Come on. Off the hoof.
Cheap electricity, but I would also say I also like to be licked by a dog. So dogs and cats. So I think if we actually put more dogs and cats in charge of modern Britain, we would probably be in a far better space than we are today.
Morris Cousins, campaign director, Net Zero Watch. You just admitted on national television you like to be licked by a plethora of household animals. We love having you on, my friend. Thank you so much indeed. More coming up. What is it? 9:36 to the phone lines. Let's go to Hampshire. Maggie, good morning.
Good morning, Jezza.
How are you?
Very good, but I was very angry earlier, but I've calmed down a little bit now.
What, to me?
No, not to you, talking to your young man that rang me, but it's benefits. I need to get one of these benefit things out in the open so people understand what's going on.
Yep.
Right, I have found out that the winter payments, as they were, this may have changed since they...
Is this to pensioners, by the way, Mags? Is this to pensioners?
The pensioners, the pensioners. People living abroad in warmer climes, say Spain, for instance, Tenerife particularly,
it's that way.
Get this payment. This payment goes to them. They're not in a cold climate. I think that's why we get it here. And they don't really need it because obviously they're nice and cosy, but they heat their swimming pools with it because the government gives it to them.
I've said this, and it's not universally popular. They should be able to means test, certain things. And that is an absolute disgrace. My in-laws could do, right, with the winter fuel allowance. Patently, if you're a Brit living in El Dorado, whatever it's called nowadays, you shouldn't be getting it. How that cannot be organised, how you cannot look at... Oh, what's your address? I live in Marbella. I don't think you need a winter fuel allowance. What's your address? I live in Bury in a single flat and I'm freezing my bed. Just see, this is the thing again, and I'm getting angry and I shouldn't have to go on holiday. Mags, it's just a total lack of common sense, isn't it? If you blanketly say nobody's having it or everybody's having it, you've got to be able to make decisions about people's viability, haven't you?
It was given to people that need it because they're cold.
Yeah.
It's a cold weather payment. They're not cold in El Dorado. Or Dubai.
Well, I was in Spain last week, and El Dorado doesn't exist. It was a TV show. I was in Spain last week, and it was bloody freezing. But I'm not old enough to... Actually, I am old enough to get a winter fuel allowance.
I was humouring you about the El Dorado, actually.
I know you were. How's Hampshire this morning? You're not having
something else, though. I need to get something else out there.
Right.
Somebody that's not worked in this country and has lived abroad since she was 21.
Yes.
She worked here for 5 years. Mm-hmm. She's managed to get the state pension by paying about £3,000 in those, I think it's class 2, is it?
Yeah.
So she can pay £3,000 and end up with £600 a month for the rest of her life.
It's fair, isn't it?
I mean, she's worked over there since she was 21. She's lived there since she was 21.
I want to
She's getting nearly as much as me, and I've paid my NI for 50 years.
I want to
I'm
make
66.
I want to make you feel happier. Do you think I can?
Carry on.
Well, try and sound a bit motivated. Many people in the past would have gone, yes, please, Jezza. Do you think?
Motivated.
Right. I'm going to make you happy. Well, ish. In the Telegraph today, a lick from a dog makes certain people happier adults. What makes Maggie in Hampshire happy?
Oh, I'd like a lick from my little dog. Yeah, that'd be good.
There's a load of weirdos listening this morning. Thanks, Mags. That's the last two people who've admitted to being licked by a dog. Can I just point out what a dog licks itself? Back in a minute.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
A very good morning to you. Welcome to Talk Breakfast. It's the nation comes here to talk. Julia here from 10 o'clock. Get those calls in if you want to speak to her and keep them going on this as well. We're talking the health secretary is working out that people are self-diagnosing and getting diagnosed and getting benefits. We're talking about A&E departments clogged up last winter. 200,000 people went and got a headache or an ingrowing toenail. Labour under attack this morning. You heard from Zia Youssef. 4 mayoral elections postponed. What are they doing with our democracy? We're going to hopefully speak to a cadet who spent time at that training base in Crowborough. They've been told to get the hell out to house illegal migrants. Fingers crossed on that. Morning, Pete. Morning, Pete.
Hi, Jez. Great show. Pete from Lancashire. So, Jez, I worked for the NHS for 28 years. Prior to that, I was a medic. I was a nursemaid. That's what I did in the NHS. So just quickly, I was burnt out. I was just burnt out, and I knew which way the NHS was going. So I left, and I now drive. I do a little bit of boxing, or did, and I ruptured my spleen. So I couldn't really drive. So I applied for universal credit just to get me out of a hole until I could drive. And I don't understand how people are given that benefit for so long. They give me 4 months, mate, and then started throwing jobs at me that would pay what I get taxi. And if I'd have refused the third one, they were stopping it anyway, so I don't get it. Take care, mate. Bye.
None of us get it. 16 minutes to 10 o'clock. I just want to touch upon this story. You will have heard, no doubt, in the news about the tragic story of Harry Dunn. The 19-year-old was riding his motorcycle in Northamptonshire near the exit to RAF Croughton, operated by the US Air Force. Yes, goodness me, 6 years ago, when a car travelling the opposite direction on the wrong side of the road collided with him. Much has been made of this. The woman who was held responsible, she went back to the States, immunity, all sorts of things. The Foreign Office report has finally come out. We're too slow to react to the Harry Dunn case. This is an independent investigation that's concluded overnight. A review highlighted failings and omissions in the department when dealing with Harry's death in August 2019. We're delighted to be joined by Rad Saiger, a Dunn family spokesman. Rad, good morning. This is a stain on this country, but I need you to help me out. The lady who was responsible was Pansakoulis was back in the United States at the drop of a hat. I never really understood. You can fill me in. Did her husband work on the base? Was she part of the American government? And why didn't the American government go, this woman's caused a child's death, she needs to face justice? I've never understood that.
Jeremy, good morning. All perfectly valid questions, and let me help. These are the sort of questions that should have been answered in the immediate days after Harry died, and his family had no idea what was going on, which is why they turned to me to help them. So going right back to the beginning, we were told that Pansakoulis was merely a dependent of a CIA officer on this particular base, and that she benefited from this immunity from prosecution that her husband should have had. But he didn't have it because the governments had agreed that employees should not be immune from prosecution. But back in the day, Jeremy, and this was in the 1990s, the lawyers left off the key word dependent. And so the Americans, as they do, took the opportunity to walk through that loophole, and they took her out. So although she had immunity, and this is the bizarre thing, her husband didn't. Had he killed Harry, he would have gone to jail. So that's how the Americans behave. They saw a loophole and they jumped through it. How immoral is that? Then we are told that there's no chance of getting justice and we might as well pack our bags and forget about it. We had no contact from the government at the time, Jeremy, and that's what this report is all about. I'm just their neighbor, a retired lawyer, well-connected in the media. Why on earth should a grieving family have to turn to their neighbor to undertake a media campaign when there was not a single person from the Johnson or Robb administration back in the day coming to help them? So it's as confusing today as it was then. It's all wrong, Jeremy. You know as well as I do that even if you have diplomatic immunity, it's not to be used as a get-out-of-jail-free card.
But what about the morality? This is the bit I don't understand. So Johnson and his government have been accused by this independent investigation of not responding quickly enough. The Americans, in your own words, got her out. What about grown men and women being faced with the reality that a young boy was needlessly killed through somebody's stupidity or a moment of madness, and that the right and proper way for that to be is not to hide behind any form of immunity, but for that person to face reality? And it's not just Johnson and whoever else, it's the Americans as well. Well, you're so right. And I sort of followed this at the time, and then it sort of went quiet, and it's come back, and I'm fascinated to do it. Was sort of angry, very angry on Harry's family's behalf, because that's, as you said, not what political immunity is about. It's about to protect people who might be under threat. It's not to be, as you say, oh, you've killed somebody, but you can go back to the States. That appalls me. Biden, Johnson, all of them. It's an absolute disgrace. What justice? I mean, if there is any justice, what is justice for Harry Dunn's family, my friend?
Well, Jeremy, you know, against all odds, you might remember that we, as a small community in Northamptonshire, together with your and your listeners' help, eventually managed to change the course of justice when our government wasn't prepared to have a crack at it, and the Americans resisted it, but to the point where they couldn't stand the reputational damage anymore. And Jeremy, the important point to make, and you can tell I'm an American living in the UK. I've never been more ashamed in my life to be American. This is unforgivable, and it will come back to bite the Americans in the bum, because there are tens of thousands of foreign diplomats running around Washington, D.C. at the moment. They will commit crimes. They will kill people on the roads. Guess what the Americans will do in those circumstances? They will demand that the person stay and face the American justice system. I was at the Foreign Office with Yvette Cooper on Tuesday, and governments around the world are now going to look and see how the Americans behaved when they killed Harry. And it isn't currently British policy to withdraw their diplomats when they commit crimes abroad. The Brits do the right thing. But the Americans have now set this precedent, and it's going to harm them one day.
Listen, it's a story that I want to continue to tell, and give my love and respect to the family. And Rad, fair play to you, mate. It's an utter disgrace, and we're glad to share it on Talk, on The Breakfast Show. Thank you, my friend. 10 to 10. Terrible, that. I mean, it's quite right. Yeah. Diplomatic immunity is a get-out-of-jail card because you've killed a kid. Outrageous. I'm surprised Donald Trump hasn't arranged for it to come... And I'm being completely serious. That's the sort of thing I would have thought Donald would have done something about. Vince, good morning.
Hi, Jezza. Great show, mate. It's Vince from Cumbria here. Military veteran. Just worked a 12-hour night shift on my way home. About the A&E thing. Last year, took my daughter to A&E. She was really ill. She got sorted, and I was in this room. It was Saturday night, full of drunks, druggies, real full of scumbags, people that didn't really need to be there. Anyway, I sat there. Opposite me was a little old lady, twin set pearls, really sweet old girl. She'd been waiting 12 hours to be admitted. I was so worried for her. I sent my daughter home with my ex-wife, and I sat there in case any of these drunkards touched her. I tell you, mate, this country is a poop hole. It's in a real bad state. Cheers, mate. Keep going.
The Talk app. You can watch, catch up and listen to all your favourite shows and podcasts anytime, anywhere, all on the Talk app. Watching and listening to Talk just got easier. There's now only one place for the home of common sense. So head over to your App Store or Google Play and search Talk now.
Across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
A very good morning to David. He says, great show at the airport. What's he watching at the airport? Waiting to go to Tenerife. It's that way, by the way. Just to get away from the doom and gloom this Labour Party is causing. You enjoyed Tenerife, my friend. Good morning to Mike in Durham. Really? I was watching a dog lick itself in its area, its private area. I said to my wife, I wish I could do that. She said, ask him nicely and he might let you. Everyone's a gem. Let's go to London. No, actually, let's go to voice note. Shirley, good morning.
Good morning, Jez. It's Shirley from the Cotswolds. My husband was in A&E last night. At about 5 o'clock, he was taken in with a fully ruptured Achilles in agony. He came out with his full leg in plaster. I cannot tell you how rammed A&E was. There were people hanging out of the doors. They're just going there now instead of going to see the GP because they can't get an appointment. This country is in one big fat mess, and Starmer for refusing to allow us to vote. I am fuming. I'm driving back to the hospital now to pick up injections, blood thinning injections. Honestly, what a mess.
Just sums it up nicely, doesn't it? Hello to Steve in Cornwall. He says, Jez, a dog may lick its own bum, but at least it's not as bad as the entire cabinet kissing the backside of Hair Starling. Yes, absolutely. London, Diana, a very good morning. Not an awful lot of time, but thank you for joining us on Morning Glory. What you got for me?
I'll try and be as quick as I can. OK, so my son is a heroin and crack cocaine addict. About 4 years ago, he had a stroke. He's on full rate PIP and universal credit, around about £1,500 a month, I think. And every single penny of that goes to the drug dealer. So, and there are many like him that are in receipt of full rate PIP. Now, it's not that he shouldn't get it because he is very disabled, but the point is that surely they know if he has a habit, which they do, then they should be doing something more constructive, like using that money for him to go to rehab.
Could not agree more. Spent 15 years doing this. If you are giving money to a boy, your son, and fair play to you for calling, who is a crack, cocaine and heroin addict, surely giving him £1,500 merely to feed his addiction rather than using that money to get him into a rehab to begin a methadone programme which will wean him off crack, cocaine and heroin is absolutely the answer. That's why we're in the poo, isn't it? As a mother, people will be listening to this and saying, that's brave of her to say, we need to be stronger with him, right?
We do, we absolutely do. I'm literally watching my son wasting away. Sorry.
I know, listen, I've heard it many, many times before. And no chance of rehab?
Well, there's such a long wait for it because obviously they cut the funding. But they could use this money, they could actually say, look, unless you go to rehab, now it's not to say he will stop using, but at least it'll give them a better chance.
Does he live with you or not?
He used to, but I've got, I do suffer from depression, but, you know, I just, sorry.
It's really hard, isn't it?
Yeah, I just wish that, you know, that they would just look at these things, not just hand out this money willy-nilly, which is what they're doing, and they're not looking at the consequences of it. You know, just write the check to the drug dealer. You may as well.
I can only say this, and I mean this. I think their priorities are wrong. I really respect the braveness that you have in making the call. You have to stay firm with them, and yes, the world has to change. I really appreciate the call, and Di, thank you. Really appreciate that. Couple of minutes to 10 o'clock. Julia Hartley-Brew, good morning.
Good morning. Heartbreaking. Here's the thing, like, a lot of these mental health problems, the kids who've genuinely got stuff, and the adults, they really need help, and we need to focus that help on them. But like autism, ADHD, the actual serious cases haven't increased. Okay, the percentage. It's all the other cases of mild, and we need to. I'm sorry, we need to stop treating normal range of behaviour as a medical problem.
There's a mother,
so we can focus help on the people who need it.
And mate, that is absolutely spot on. There's a mother whose son is spending £1,500 a month, PIP, on drugs and says through tears he should be sent to rehab on a methadone programme. That's the way. That's what's wrong. And you're right. From 6 o'clock this morning, we've been saying we have to have these conversations, be it about benefits, about PIP or whatever, because the people that you said, the genuine ones, are missing out because people are gaming the bloody system.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, exactly. Well, talk of gaming the system. If you don't think you're going to do well in an election, just delay it. That's what we do in this country now. Well, there is concern that, in fact, in the next couple of weeks, Keir Starmer is going to announce that he's cancelling the general election in 3.5 years. I mean, probably.
Do you think... that's